Good morning, Raptor freaks. Alexios here. Monday morning, the Raptors defeated the Memphis Grizzlies yesterday in a very close game. It was a good challenge for the team. Yeah, sure. The negative ninnies are going to say, well, that Memphis team wasn't the best Memphis team that you could have faced. Listen, this season's hard. And any of those W's we get, quit poo-pooing our wins because we need them. We need them so bad. So very, very proud of the Raptors this is a different kind of game than some of the games this year so far. Most of the wins we've gotten recently, we've had the lead for most of the game and kept the team below us. Well, this game was different. And in some ways, this game shows that we are evolving as a team within the season right now to be better at what we used to be very good at in coming back and managing close games and winning against that team when it's close in the last couple minutes of the game. Now, they were winning in almost the entire game. They had a lead, the Memphis Grizzlies kind of cruising, and we kind of overtook them by the end of the game. And it was a combination of different guys on our team. It's very weird how the Raptors main squad mirrored the Raptors 905 from their last game against the Cleveland Charge this weekend. That there were very similar characteristics in both games. It's very, very weird. Both opponents were winning the whole entire game, and then we came back and won right at the end, but it was a balanced attack. And in the final part where we were coming back, there were different people contributing on Saturday to help the 905 beat the Cleveland Charge. Jeff Doughton Jr., Sterling Brown, Ron Harper Jr., stepping up big at the end. Well, we had multiple different people step up and be very big at the end of the game last night to help carry us home. Pascal, Scottie, Fred, just doing really good stuff right at the end of the game, especially Scottie. We're going to have to talk about Scottie and the changes that happened last night. The other interesting comparison to the 905 victory and this victory last night against the Memphis Grizzlies is that not a single one of the Raptors or Raptors 905 got 20 points. Both games had 7 players in double digits, but nobody over 20 points. This is really weird equity across the board with the team in scoring. And I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. I think that diversification of different people, maybe they could have an uptick of a little bit more scoring. That would be great. But seeing so many different people kind of contribute across the board, very, very good for the Raptors in the game yesterday. It was a weird one. It was an interesting one. There is a lot to talk about with this Memphis Grizzlies game. But let me start with the comments real quick. Canadian Cowboy is here first. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. What a game. Let's go. Yes, let's go, Bradley. Let's start this week right. Monday morning, the team is coming back to the YYZ. That is what is on that ticket. Flying back to Toronto last night, and they are back home after 2 weeks on the road. A successful road trip, 4-3. The first time they've ever had a winning 7-game road trip in the history of the Toronto Raptors. We have not had a 7-game road trip since 2007. And of course, our team was much worse pre-2007 for the most part, other than a little pocket after 2000 with Vince Carter and Alvin Williams. But for the most part, we've been pretty bad. So all these 7-game road trips had never existed until this year again. And we had a winning 7-game road trip for the first time in Toronto Raptors history. And I think that is something to celebrate in a dark and dismal kind of year. That is an accomplishment. That is not easy to do, to win 4 out of 7 against Western Conference teams on the road, especially when you've been a struggling sub-500 team for most of the year. So we need to give accomplishments and praise to our team in the ways that we can right now, because it's just been that kind of season. So good job, Raptors, having a winning record on this road trip. I'm very happy about that. Seriously. If they had lost yesterday, I would have been disappointed because John Morant didn't play. And we just need to beat teams. Just beat them, especially when we have most of our guys and they may be missing very key players. And they were missing very key players for the Grizzlies yesterday. Steven Adams, Dylan Brooks, John Morant. Very important players to their team. Nako saying only got to catch the second half. 3 stars are Thad, Chris, and Pascal. That Kyrie trade wasn't too bad for the Nets. More draft capital for the Mavs. It could be great for a disaster. Well, we're going to talk about Kyrie today for sure. Let me go with your stars first, and I'll do mine also, Nako. You're saying Thad, Chris, and Pascal. I don't have a problem with that, except you need to put Scottie Barnes in that 3 stars for taking us home last night. There was really a serious change in something that Scottie did in the last 5 minutes of game. Once again, we saw Scottie not do jack shit for most of the game until the fourth quarter. He woke up. In fact, he had 3 points and was shooting 1 of 6 when the fourth quarter started. And he woke up, and by the end of the game, he ended up with 16 points. So he scored 13 points in the very last quarter of the game, trying to get us back in a quarter where we outscored the Grizzlies 28-17. Scottie Barnes stepping up. And that's not the only thing. He stepped up in the last couple minutes and made huge, high percentage, low post shots over the opponents and was very effective in nailing them. There were 2 of them he made right in a row that were so important to us winning last night. And this is something that we need to understand, that this is something that he may start doing more for us. That's what I've been kind of already understanding, that this will happen. That Scottie Barnes may start taking over at the end of games to try and take us home to wins, because he loves that kind of challenge. He loves that opportunity to be the hero. He loves that opportunity to put it on his broad shoulders and take it home to get the W. Well, he did it for the first time, really, and was successful. And you know what? He loved it. You could see it after the game. He got the post-game interview, which was weird because in some ways the water was carried by everybody else for most of the game, and Scottie kind of just came in at the last leg of the relay and carried that baton home. And I have no problem with that. It's like Fred said in his interview after the game. He's like, yeah, I was wondering when he's going to start playing. He didn't say it exactly like that. He's like, well, I'm glad he showed up at some point to show up and help us at the end. And he was fantastic. That's what Fred said. And of course, the people that think Fred and Scottie don't like each other, way more evidence again at the end of the game, celebrating together with hugs and smiles and very much happiness between everybody about winning in this close game. And Scottie has to really feel like he was an integral part of why we won last night. He really did take us home. And I appreciate that. In fact, this opens the mind, the realm of possibility to what is Scott going to be as a closer? Is he going to be able to do this more often? Will he be able to replicate the results of last night in other games in the future and very consistently? I'd like to see this, and I'd like to explore this more, Nick Nurse, because I really like what we saw. And I think that this is the kind of character that we want to build in young Scott, because it will help us so much in the future. Trust me. So in some ways, Nako, you got to put Scottie Barnes in your top 3. I'm sorry, it's just mandatory. My top 3 for yesterday were Scottie. Chris was fantastic also. I have to say, Chris Boucher off the bench. Once again, we start flat. And Nick brings Chris Boucher in, and he's just a spark plug. He just sparks us up. 7 of 10 from the field, 3 of 4 from three-point range. His three-point shooting was fantastic last night. He had a double-double, 17 with 10 rebounds and plus 12. Chris Boucher, one of my 3 stars last night off the bench, just a fantastic job in all kinds of ways. Now, my 3rd star is Thad Young also, because Thad went above and beyond his normal contributions in this game last night because he had to a degree. He had to be that steady vet. He had to do steady scoring, and he was very good. In fact, Shanika was going crazy with how good Thaddeus was playing last night, and everybody lauding him on Twitter. She was getting into it. She was posting all these memes and being like, "Ooh, I'm so happy that Thad is doing so good." And I just love to see that love between a husband and wife, celebrating a husband on the court. 5 of 8 from the field, 1 of 2. He hit a 3 last night, which Nick made a comment about after the game, saying that when we were used to getting at least 1 3 from Thad last season when he showed up, and we were wondering where that went this year, and he got one last night, and that's a good sign. Now, if there was one blemish on the game for Thad Young, it was his free throw shooting, 3 of 6. And we shot really bad at the free throw line last night. It was pissing me off. We didn't get very many free throws, first of all. The refs were fucked up. But yeah, we missed a good percentage of our free throws. Gary missing the only free throw he got on an N1, and Pascal had to miss a free throw, of course. But Thad missing 3 out of his 6 free throws. No good, man. No good. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, a plus 12 with 14 points. Thaddeus Young is my 3rd star. Now, the other 4 starters, other than Scottie, they were okay. They were kind of mid. Then none of them shot super, super well. And then none of them got over 20 points. But Siakam, 7 of 17, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 5 fouls. Once again, we're seeing Siakam get foul trouble, and he loses minutes in the game. In some ways, this is good because he's so overplayed and overworked with minutes that him only playing 28 minutes last night is not a bad thing to me in some ways. But there's something going on with the refs and Siakam. I really do feel like besides the whole ref hit job of helping a team beat another team in a game, I feel like there's some sort of memo to punish Pascal right now, because the referees have been singling him out and putting him in foul trouble for a couple games now in a row. And it seems to coincide with him getting snubbed from the All-Star game. That is really fucked up and weird. If there's some sort of weird kind of like freeze out or something they're trying to do to Pascal in some ways, I don't know what's going on, but I don't like it. And I didn't like the refs last night. Mark Davis was an asshole for most of the game. Right at the very end, he came through with a really big call of that call with Fred when Nick used the challenge. Really masterful usage of the challenge. And in fact, when I do my report this summer in the offseason on the challenge and when it's most effective to use, this game's one I'm going to look back at, because Nick waited till the very end, and with 7 seconds to go, Fred made a block on Desmond Bane that they were trying to say was a foul, but he made it very clean. And Fred right away was like this, and Nick right away was like this, and that green light started lighting up real quick like this, and they went and looked at it. And I was really watching Mark Davis when he was watching cartoons in the last couple seconds of the game, because I knew he needed to do the right thing. Because it's the Raptors, motherfucker, and you screw us over. And we've seen a last minute, 2-minute report where you were called out for being wrong and fucking us over for not winning a game against Sacramento. So he's got to think about all that. He's like, should I do this? Should I say it's a foul still and the challenge is unsuccessful and they're wrong? And yeah, but it's the Raptors and they think I have something against them. I can't do this way. I could really feel the wheels turning in Mark Davis's head when he was deliberating that coach's challenge. And, well, he made the right call. Thank God he made the right call. You motherfucker, you better make the right call in that situation. And it mattered. That may have been a very, very, very important swing decision in how the game ended, that it was right at the end. And this would have meant like shots for them. And it would have mattered very, very much. Well, he made the right call. Thank God. And because of that, I absolved him of all of his sins for most of the game, because he did have sins through most of the game. That motherfucker was calling some bullshit, and they were getting texts. You saw Fred get a text from Mitchell Irvin just from standing there talking to him. He's guarding. They're in the middle of the game. He's kind of talking to Mitchell while he's guarding the ball. And Mitchell at one point just tech. And Paul Jones described it as like a baseball, a thing where the ump just gets pissed off. Always says, "All right, that's enough," and he gives him he throws him out or something. Yeah, that was just like that. And then Nick Nurse's tech in the timeout that we did not get to see was also another thing. They were not liking us last night, and they were very mean to us. Fennessy, Mitchell, and Mark Davis. But I can't say that they ruined the game for us, because we won. And Mark Davis came through with the most important call at the right time for us. And thank God he did. Yeah, we were watching you, Mark, and you better fucking get that call right. That's what I'm saying right there. Yeah. So, yeah, very interesting game from that aspect with the referees. They were kind of fucked up. Seriously. They were calling that weird shit on different ends, where they call really touchy shit on us. And then at the other end, Grizzlies are mugging us like we're on the street in the alley and they want our wallet. That's what I'm saying. That's all we want. That's all that we're arguing for, Mark Davis. When we come at you, when he's talking to Mitchell Irvin like he is like that, what Fred's saying to Mitchell Irvin is, if you're going to call that down there, you better call it down here. That's all we want is consistency. We want y'all to call the same damn things for them as that you will call for us. And it means either you're tightening up and not calling any whistles and nobody's getting any fouls, or you are doing it in a very, very same way on both ends, because you're not doing this to us. And in some ways, this is how they stack the odds against the Raptors. I was going to put in the title, it's like we had to beat 5-on-1, 5-on-8, because to a degree last night, there was some 5-on-8 going on versus us, versus the Grizzlies and the Zebras. So yeah. There's your ref manipulation segment. Thank you, Mark Davis, for doing the right thing when you're really on blast. And if you hadn't, we really would have thought you had something against the Toronto Raptors. So thank God you got the call right. Fred did block him clean. Yeah. Great win. All right, let me see what else you guys are saying. Filling it up this morning already. All right, Nako has brought up the Kyrie Irving trade that happened yesterday. And yes, we do have to give some credit to Seymour Pape, who has kind of called it. I think he did say on Sunday's stream yesterday morning that he saw Kyrie going to Dallas. Well, it happened. Part of the reason why I didn't think he would go to Dallas is because it doesn't make any fucking sense. Seriously, think about it. Luka Doncic is a point guard. He has to have the ball go through him a lot. Well, Kyrie needs the same damn thing. So I don't know. I knew they needed a second banana in Dallas to have somebody extra scoring punch next to Luka, but this is not the dude. And I think you fucked up, Mark Cuban. Seriously, I don't think this deal is good for either team. I think that the Nets were once again under pressure, and they made a deal that's not that good. I mean, I don't like anything that they got from them. Like, this is a really bad deal for the Nets, and it's also a bad deal for Dallas. It's so weird, because Kyrie, first of all, is a free agent this summer. He could show up in Dallas and hang around for like a couple months till the end of the season and then fucking blow them off and go right to LA. This is what I think he's going to do. So in some ways they traded, maybe they're just trying to get rid of assets so they can be in the free agent market this summer, but don't expect Kyrie Irving to hang around in Dallas, y'all. This is a pit stop. This is a hopping stop to get to LA still. That's still going to happen. But it is funny to see all the Laker Nation like get pissed off about this deal yesterday because they think they want to fire Rob Pelinka because he didn't get it done. And there is probably some truth to Joe Tsai saying, I don't want to fucking help you, Kyrie. You're an asshole, and I'm not giving you what you want and sending you to LA. You're going to Texas, motherfucker. So I think that's kind of how it went down. Now, I'm realizing now that it's not just Kyrie who got traded to Dallas. Y'all know Markieff Morris is going there too with him in this deal. And this is the thing. The Nets didn't have any big man, hardly at all. He's like the only big man power forward for them right now. So good job, Nets. You just fucked your team up even worse. Like, let me look at who they got. Who did they get? All right, they're sending Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie back to the Nets. Spencer Dinwiddie has had an odyssey. This is where he started. Now he's coming all around full circle right back to the Nets at the end of this. And we know Kevin's going to be saying he wants to get out of there next. So, Spencer, it looks like the Nets might be your team again, young man. This is crazy. So, yeah, Dorian Finney-Smith is a center, and he kind of makes up for Markieff going the other way. But still, this is weakening the Nets for sure. I'm sorry. Spencer Dinwiddie does not equal Kyrie Irving. And the other thing is, listen, Kyrie Irving does not fit in Dallas. A lot of people are saying this. Oren Weisfeld, particularly on Twitter, is saying that Kyrie may fuck up the romance between Dallas and Luka. That's the risk that Mark Cuban's taking right now, is by having such a malignant, narcissist, fucked up, toxic player like Kyrie on his team, it may end up getting them to lose Luka because he makes it so toxic there in some ways. This could go really, really bad for the Dallas Mavericks. I think this is one of the dumbest moves I've ever seen a team make. I'm not going to lie. Because in some ways, they don't need Kyrie. They have Luka. Luka does everything that Kyrie does in a lot of ways. And in some ways, they're duplicitous and they're going to step on each other's toes as far as things. I mean, listen, I don't think Luka's going to like playing with Kyrie Irving. And this is going to be a disaster. I'm going to already say it right now. This is a disaster deal for both teams. They're going to both get worse because of this. I mean, forget about the Nets' chances for the rest of the year. And in some ways, maybe we can get somebody like Nick Claxton or Kevin Durant from them now, because there might be a little bit of a fire sale going. I don't think it's a good deal for either one of them. Nako, I got to disagree. The Nets are fucked, and so are the Mavs from this. This really didn't make any sense. When I saw it happening, I was like, what the fuck? Kyrie's going to play with Luka? This does not make any fucking sense at all. I'm not upset, though. But some Raptor fans are looking at it from our perspective. Well, fuck, we just played the Nets all 4 games for the season, and we don't get a chance to play against the weekend Nets now that they've made this trade. Well, that's bullshit. That's just dumb luck and bad timing and just bad luck for us. That, maybe the games with the Nets should have been spread out more over the season so we could have got to play the new look Nets that just started yesterday. It's kind of bullshit. And that's why I don't get upset about getting wins like the last 2 wins we've gotten and people saying they're cheesy and they're not very good. Fuck y'all. We had to play the Nets when they still had Kyrie all 4 games this season. So, yeah, it all evens out somehow, some way. The terrain of the NBA is not fair and equal, and you got to get it while you can, and when you want to, you get it. That's it. That's just how it is. Tom Duke saying, grittiest W of the year. Love the passion of Mr. Fourth Quarter, Scottie Barnes, his bench crew, and let's go. Yes, SB Fourth Quarter. Some people are putting that moniker out there, SB Fourth, SB Fourth. Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm not. That sounds real good. SB Fourth. Let's be fourth. Be fourth, Scottie. Be the fourth, Scottie. You can be like Star Wars. Be the fourth, Scottie. Yeah, feel the fourth. Like it's the force. I don't know. I'm just riffing here. That could work, honestly. Tom, I have to agree. In some ways, this is a gritty win. But you know what? We needed to win this game. Memphis is not a good shooting team without some of their guys out there. Desmond Bane was doing everything for them. In fact, he was annoying, man. How did he make all those crazy high arcing like layups over people with those crazy like high angles off the backboard into the basket? Like he made almost all of those. He was very annoying. And then of course he was hitting his threes. So Desmond Bane was very, very annoying last night. And but thankfully he didn't do too much. Jaren Jackson also very annoying last night. The All-Star 4 blocks. He was very much a presence around the basket and being annoying. 18 points, 4 blocks, 8 rebounds. And then Aldama. You guys were right. This guy's interesting. But you know what? He's kind of a goof also to me. I mean, I can see, all right, he can shoot some threes. He's got length. He can block some shots. He's good at rebounding. He can get a double-double. But what is this? What is this, Santi? What is this? In fact, we saw him do this 3 times during the game, and I was like, oh, what is this fucking cheap-ass shit? Well, he got us once. He got Pascal once with it, and it did add to his 5 fouls that he got. But then the other 2 times he got it, it was just stupid because they didn't fall for it, and he just threw the ball away. And I love that. I was like, what the fuck is Santi doing? Like that shit. It's like, he's Santi? Let's change the I to an A and say he's giving gifts to us? Oh, Merry Christmas, Raptors. Woo! I'm going to throw the ball down the court for you so you can go get it and transition and get a dunk. Woo! Merry Christmas, Santa Claus. Just gave you the ball. Yeah. That was so weird by him. And then, all right, I got to talk about X.Tillman Sr. real quick. Listen, man, how are you a fucking senior already? How old are you? Listen, how old are you? Seriously, I'm going to go look at his age. He's 24 years old. All right, first of all, X.Tillman Sr., you do not earn the senior moniker until your son is famous also, and you need to use it to distinguish between 2 different people. You're jumping the gun, motherfucker. I don't know how old your son is. You're 24. The oldest he could be is probably like 10 or 11. This motherfucker ain't known on middle school circuits, so there's no reason for you to be using the senior name. We don't give a shit if you're X.Tillman Sr. You're just X.Tillman. Because there ain't no Tillman Jr. that you need to distinguish from. This ain't no Gary Trent Sr. Jr. thing. This is an earned title for being a legacy. And Gary Trent Jr. is very much known, and we need to distinguish between Gary Trent Sr. and Gary Trent Jr. Well, we don't know who the fuck X.Tillman Jr. is. He's a child. So why the fuck are you putting senior on your jersey? It's the stupidest shit I've ever seen. And you know what it makes me think? That you're some old head that they got from the Y, and you're like 45 like me. And then you came down there and started playing on the Memphis Grizzlies as a walk-on. Yeah, it's such a misnomer. And just drop the senior. Who the fuck are you? Seriously, your son ain't done shit, and we don't know who the fuck he is, so you're just X.Tillman. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. You don't get the senior like Gary Trent Jr. Senior has. So I'm sorry, you just don't. You just don't. Until your son is a prodigy that comes up and he gets in the NBA also, you are X.Tillman. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. That's just the rules. And in very rare cases, do a senior and a junior play together, like Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. That made sense. That's senior. That's junior. Well, ain't no fucking junior in the NBA, so why the fuck are you using senior? I'm sorry. I had to do that riff on him because I think it's hilarious. It's kind of funny. Okay, who the fuck is X.Tillman Sr.? You're just X.Tillman. I'm sorry, bro. You just are. Stop being like that, all right? He's so proud of his son. He has to be senior. Okay, that's fine, but we don't know who junior is. We don't give a shit, all right? It was very good to see former Raptors champion Danny Green on the court last night. It was really chippy between him and Chris Boucher. There was a lot of physicality, and at some points they were kind of pushing each other dirty. And I know it was all talking shit and just from the friendship of being on the Raptors championship team together. Chris Boucher and Danny Green mixing it up on the court for rebounds and tying each other up and a little bit of pushing and shoving. But I know it's all good-natured and fun because they are champions together. But very nice to see Danny. I hated seeing him hit a three on us, a couple threes on us. But yeah, 6 points for Danny Green off the bench. Just happy to see him accomplish his career after being out after fucking stupid ass Tall Timbers Joel Embiid fell on him and made him injured for the last year. So yeah, really nice to see Danny Green back out there playing. They have weird players on their bench. Conchar was a little annoying. Roddy was weird. He had a turnover that was really funny. Zaire Williamson and then Canadian Brandon Clark. Very interesting bench for them, but we did a good job. Honestly, we did a really good job with them, and I'm proud of our guys. You know, just going a little deeper on some of the other guys from the game last night. Precious Achiuwa, 5 of 12, 7 rebounds, 4 steals, and 10 points. It's like all 5 of the starters have very decent stat lines, but nothing too overwhelmingly badass and amazing. We did see Precious attacking the rim at various times in the game, which was very awesome and exciting. In fact, he had a baseline run up and dunk near the end of the game that was so awesome and so necessary. And it was just really cool to see Precious playing very aggressive in his home collegiate city, because it was a really big deal. And we did see footage of him at the Memphis college game the night before, and he was there as a hero from as his alma mater, just being there, coming back and saying hi to everybody in Memphis. Good stuff. Precious, you didn't play as big in some ways, but you were very big as far as attacking. And the thing about you guys, you and Chris, with your defensive rebounding is so excellent right now. Like, you guys are really seeking the ball and going and getting it. Like, Chris, you and Precious are badasses at boarding. I've seen you guys, you get aggressive and chase down those rebounds and don't let them get second chance shots. And I really, really appreciate Precious and Chris Boucher for this, because they really do have a very, very good mind and nose to go get that ball when it's loose coming off the board. And I just have to give them kudos for the work they've been doing recently, because last night they did a really good job on the defensive boards. Fred VanVleet, 6 of 19. He only got 2 threes, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 15 points, a +4. Solid line by Fred. Like I said, nobody was super outstanding last night, but everybody was solid in their own little way. And it was a weird game because most of these games on this road trip have been plus 120 points and stuff like that. Well, we kept it right around 100, 106 to 103. That's a manageable score when they don't have the firepower, and we can kind of deal with them and still manage the game and win. So it's a game that was more like last year, partly because they didn't have that kind of firepower to boost their score to 120. Now, if they had Ja Morant, that may have been very possibly the difference, that they could have had like 120 points last night because they had their best player on the court. So in some ways we caught a break, but I'm not upset about it. We need all the breaks we can get this season, and having a 106 to 103 final is more indicative of scoring from last year than this year. And I'm not upset about that. Gary Trent Jr., 5 of 14. He missed all 3 of his three-pointers, which is very weird since he was so dialed in the game before. 10 points. So a little bit of an off game for Gary on the down low, but didn't really stand out in the game. Did anybody really think Gary played that bad? No, we didn't really see him in any kind of way where we thought, oh, that's really awful. but he didn't play that well last night, honestly. Malachi Flynn, also off the bench. The three guys off the bench were fantastic. In fact, the announce crew went on and on about Thaddeus, Chris, and Malachi coming in and stepping up in different ways, and they did really well. Malachi only got 5 points, but I really loved that three he finally got. It was at such a timely time when we needed the scoring, and him hitting that three was just kind of like hitting that one little high C note in a song on the piano that you kind of just need it just to accentuate the melody. And that him having Nick Nurse hit that key of Malachi just for that one little high C ding, and he hits that three, boom. That was great. And I love seeing that. We do need Malachi to make threes and be a threat as a 3-point shooter. We just need more shooters that are like that. And thank God he got out there and got some good burn. They got a lot of extra minutes off the bench. And in some ways, they didn't use as many people. There's only 8 people playing for the Raptors last night, but the minutes were much more equitable. Fred VanVleet, we're talking minutes police, 39 minutes is the most minutes. Nobody went over 40. And in some ways, we can deal with Fred having 39. But Pascal at 28, that's fantastic. 31 minutes for Achua, 35 for Barnes, 37 for Trent, 25 and 27 for Young and Boucher. That's pretty equitable between 8 guys. So if you're not going to go deep in the bench with a lot of guys like a 10-man rotation, Nick, you do need to beef up a couple of guys off the bench like Chris and Thad with like 20-plus minutes. You can't just give them like 10 or something like that. You got to give these guys good rest from being out there running their ass off. And you're doing a better job of that recently. In fact, I really like how you staggered the guys in the fourth quarter. You kind of had Fred and Pascal out for a good chunk of the beginning of the fourth quarter, and then they came back in around 7 minutes, but you rested Scottie and Gary and different people, and then you brought them back in around 3 minutes to go. And Scottie, well, we saw the burst he had in the last couple minutes of game to take us home. So really good subbing and getting good energy out of the guys at the end of the game so they didn't look like tired as hell. Because this was true. Jack kept talking about during the game that at the end of a long road trip, there is some wear and tear and just being a little bit exhausted from so much traveling and just being on the road. It's going to be very interesting to see them come back today, get some practice in, and have their first game back in Scotiabank Arena after this trip against the Spurs on Wednesday night. Now, the first game back after a long road trip, Monique and I know about this because we've talked about this last year, is always dangerous. It's dangerous, but at least it's the Spurs. It's a team we could probably handle with those kind of feelings of being back and home and kind of have a nice soft landing and probably win this game against the Spurs anyway. Now, today, the 905 are playing the Maine Celtics. It's a game today. 7:30 is the time to start. Maine Celtics are here in Mississauga to play the 905. We have our refs for that game tonight is J.D. Rawls is the crew chief. Agon Abazi is the referee. And Ian McClenny is the umpire for the game in Mississauga tonight at 7:30. So y'all tune in and watch the Raptors 905 playing the Maine Celtics. Let's beat the Celtics, baby, on a Monday. So, yeah, there is a 905 game today, y'all. So be ready for that. Let's see. Cool Cat is here. Good morning, Raptor Freak crew. So happy for our boys getting gritty win. Franchise history, 4 W's out of 7 road games. Yes. Bench saved us. Scottie, fourth quarter. Pascal, 2 free throws under pressure. That was important. I do need to give Pascal credit for hitting those 2 free throws at the end. I was so worried about that just because of how his free throws have been going recently. But yeah, he missed one earlier in the game, but he made the 2 that really mattered near the end. And thank God. He doesn't need any more like why the fuck did you miss that? Because he's been known to miss important free throws at bad times. And I'm really happy and proud of him for making those for sure. Because that was pressure for sure. Smiles from our boys. Yeah, they were jubilance after the game. We saw Scottie jumping and really this is a little bit like on Twitch last year when he'd win a close game at the last second. And he's like, yes. He was very jubilant. And he's like, let's go in his interview afterwards. He does seem like he's pumped. And that's what I'm saying. This could be a harbinger for things with Scottie for the rest of the season. That, he should empower himself. Fuck this. You don't want to lose. You don't want to feel all the things about losing. Well, fucking change that, Scott. Go out there and take the ball and put it in the hoop at the end of the game, every game, and you don't have to deal with losing anymore. It's your world, bro. Just go do it. You can. I know you can because you just did it last night, and you'll get better and better at it as you practice more at it. So in some ways, Scottie turned a corner last night because he finally showed clutch and overpowering clutch as being the best player on the court for the last 2 minutes of the game, taking his team home to the W. You can empower yourself, Scott. You just take it upon yourself and you do it, my man. You can. I believe in you. Summer Lowe is here. Good to see Summer. Always good to see a visit from Summer Lowe. Did you think Dallas gets an F in this trade? Kyrie could walk for nothing this summer. I know, Summer. I don't understand this. Mark Cuban, you're an idiot. You were kind of an idiot. Why would you do this? Like, in some ways, all right, they came to Mark Cuban. He's like, how do you feel about Kyrie's anti-Semitism thing this year and stuff like that? He's like, well, he's gone through the process of making it okay with coming back to the team. So I have no problem with it. It's all water on the bridge. Some people were asking Laker fans on Twitter, would you be happy having Kyrie here with you knowing about his views? And they're asking like Jewish people that live in LA. And some Jewish guy on there said, you know what? If it means more Laker championships, I would sell Israel back to Palestine, is what the dude said. I was like, whoa, that's really big. This dude really cares about getting the Lakers championships as a Jewish person in LA. He said he'd give Israel back to Palestine to get more Lakers championships. That's how we know. He's like, yeah, he's ready to have Kyrie on his team. You know, that's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, I think you're right, Summer. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, unless they really like playing together, like Kyrie and Luka become like this thing, like there's a bromance and they're like, wow, we really have fun playing together. Then Kyrie might stay. But I think it's very likely, considering he bought a house in LA last summer and the writing's been on the wall of that house that he bought for this whole entire year, that he is wanting to land in LA somehow, some way, whether it's with the Lakers or the Clippers. Yeah, I think that you're right. This is a pit stop. This is a rental for the rest of the season. And maybe this is Mark Cuban and the Mavericks trying to make room or change the structure of their team some way to be fluid. So this summer they can go spend some money, because I don't think they're going to spend money on Kyrie. And I don't think Kyrie's going to want money from them. He's going to be wanting money from either the Clippers or the Lakers. And I'll bet you Lakers #1. And Laker fans are already freaking out because he already went to the Mavericks. Like, oh, no, he didn't get him. Well, you all might get him still, but you got to wait till next season. It's so crazy, Summer. I was like, Mark Cuban, are you smoking crack? Is what I was thinking yesterday. Seriously. I was like, Mark Cuban, I usually think you're a smart guy, but are you smoking crack? Apparently, the GM of the Mavericks has a connection with Kyrie, and this is part of why this happened, that he worked with him at Nike and that they have a personal relationship. So that's partly why it happened, is because the GM is friends with Kyrie. Forgetful saying this pagan was on his knees praying to little baby Jesus during the final minutes. Yeah. That's awesome. Forgetful the sorcerer on the farm was actually invoking religion as a pagan, an atheist maybe, and just praying that we would win that game no matter what yesterday. Yeah, that's good stuff. Forgetful. Seymour saying the bear went down. Well seasoned. Well done. Good win. Raptors keep them coming. Hey, Seymour, go get food for the next game. I don't know what you eat to beat a Spur. Maybe you go get a coyote and you eat the coyote, the mascot. I don't know if you can cook coyote. Can you cook coyote? Can you go shoot a coyote today and get it prepared in time for the game on Wednesday? Because this could be a good trend of you eating the opponent on the game day. So I'm saying the Spurs are represented by a coyote in their mascot. Maybe in Toronto, I've heard there's coyote sightings in downtown Toronto right now. We made you come to the city, trap a coyote, take it home and cook it to dinner. I know a lot of animal people are pretty pissed at me for saying that, but I don't know. He said that he ate a bear yesterday and we won. I want to do anything to win. I'm not selling Israel to Palestine to win, though. I mean, maybe I would do that. Yeah, I probably would do that, because that seems like the right thing. Anyway, Fiercely saying, good morning, fam. Satisfying with the win yesterday. The bench stepped up. Scottie was clutch. Overall, great effort by everyone. Completely agree, Fiercely Salsera. It was an interesting game. It was a little bit like, is this going to be a nightmare once again, where they just beat us the whole game and we just roll over and die and lose to the Memphis Grizzlies without 3 of their most important players? Yeah, I was really worried that it would look like that and be really bad. But no, these guys had pride. These guys had gumption. In some ways, they were kind of changing the tide of the game throughout the game, that it was kind of building and building and building to get to that point where they would overcome them at the end and win the game. You could kind of sense it in the game with how some things were going as far as with the rebounds and different things with them not shooting well and us kind of doing certain things that were really kind of winning formula kind of stuff compared to them. Let me look at the team stats actually. La 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 la. We got way more shots than them. We got 22, 23 more shots than them. And that's fantastic. That's always good when you get more field goal attempts. We want to manufacture more shots on goal. So we got 6 more field goals made. We did shoot worse than them. They shot 49%. We shot 44%, but that doesn't matter. Volume over quality is what we're saying with our shots. We did get 1 more three-pointer than them. So we actually won the three-point shootout battle. That probably it would have been a lot harder with John Morant out there, obviously, and also Dylan Brooks. But, we won it. 31% from three-point line, 37% for them. I mean, they did technically shoot better than us in all 3 categories, but don't matter because volume beats quality. Quantity will beat quality in the NBA. 7 of 12 from the free throw line. I hate that. 5 missed free throws for 58% free throw shooting. If we had lost this game close, yeah, I was going to point to that. Yeah, I was going to point to those missed free throws throughout the game. 17 of 23 from the field for the Grizzlies, and they were getting handheld. They were getting late calls, late whistles by the refs and put on the line in stupid ass ways. All kinds of fucked up shit with the calls. They really are not being nice to Pascal or Fred, and I really don't like it. And they're like letting all kinds of contact. We saw Desmond Bane knee Scottie Barnes in the nuts and him fall to the ground, and nobody paid attention to or gave a shit about that happening to him. And I'm just saying there's a lot of extra shit that's going on the referees are not paying attention to, and they're probably hoping we just get frustrated and give up and not care. Well, that's not what we do. The Raptors are used to this bullshit from you guys, referees, and we're going to play through that no matter what. So don't even think you're going to break our spirit by being assholes and not calling calls when you should be, because we're going to fucking play through it and we're going to try and win no matter what. So you go ahead and give us the shaft on the calls with the contact. We're still going to win, motherfucker. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, the rebounds were really close. They did beat us by 2 rebounds, but we had 11 offensive rebounds, which was really, really good. 24 assists for the Raptors last night. I liked how they were sharing the ball in a lot of cases. There was some real sharing is caring going on. We did see some sharing is caring between Gary and Pascal, which I really love to see. And just like good drop-offs for better shots and guys making them. So there was some really good teamwork. The turnovers were a factor. They had 20 turnovers. We only had 11. Limiting our turnovers, them having double the turnovers, that's a big part of making up the difference with the shooting percentages, them shooting better, and we winning by 3. So it's like it all has to work exactly right for us to get the win in this way if we're not going to shoot better than them. Points in the paint, 62 points in the paint for the Raptors, 54 for them. So just good stuff. I mean, they really were leading this whole entire game. They had control of this game, and we came back and took it from them. And I like that so much. I really, really do like it. Seymour is saying, I knew Kyrie wasn't going to LA. The GM and owner was not trying to give Kyrie what he wanted. I think it's not even that. It's that Pelinka's an idiot. First of all, he is not very good at dealing with other teams because he's kind of stupid. And he wants too much, and he kind of screws up these deals. I think they had a deal to get Kyrie to send to LA last summer, but in some ways Pelinka got greedy, or he didn't like something about it, and it fell through. And I think he's continuing to be a problem with this. I also do think, like I said, that the owner of the Nets wanted to kind of not give Kyrie exactly what he wanted. The players, they will do this. They did this shit to Donovan Mitchell. Utah did not want to send him to New York, so they sent him to Cleveland. So it's a similar thing, I think, that they didn't want to send him directly to L.A. If he goes to L.A. this summer, so be it. We don't want you here. We're going to send you to Texas. So you can go to Dallas, bro. And some people are saying he can go there, work on his conspiracy theories with the Kennedy assassination. Go to the grassy knoll and get out the protractor, Kyrie, and get all your crazy ass world is flat kind of shit going on in Dallas with the Kennedy assassination. In his off time, he's out in the grassy knoll, like trying to figure it out. I don't know. It's so weird. All right, let's see. Monique saying, "Good morning, everyone. Still overjoyed with the win. 3 stars of the game. Thad, Chris, and Malachi. Bonus, Precious, Scottie down the stretch." So she really liked the bench output by the 3 guys that played off the bench last night. I can't disagree. I had Thad and Chris in my top 3, but I have to recognize Scottie for turning the corner as far as possibly being a new clutch player for us down the stretch. And I love it too, Monique. Wasn't Scottie so cool in the last bit of the game? He was so good. Callie's here. Good to see Callie Mayer. Impressive comeback in spite of reffing. I don't normally complain about the refs. However, we shot half the amount of free throws, but took way more shots. Yeah, that's what Jack said at some point. He's like, Pascal's so aggressive and he's going to the basket and he's shooting his first free throws in the second half. Like Siakam did not get very many free throws last night. And that's usually indicative because we know he's going down there and mixing it up. He shot 4 free throws last night. Nope. That's not the proper amount for the amount of contact he's taking because we know he's getting hit all kinds of which ways every time he goes in that lane to try and score. So, yeah, I agree with this, that they weren't calling enough fouls for us, for sure. Fiercely saying, I was telling my friend yesterday, Pascal seemed blackballed in the recent games. 5th foul in third quarter, come on. I know, that's a really weird thing. You know, in some ways, maybe they are trying to hurt us because they know he's our franchise player and our number one. And in some ways, this is a disrespect thing. You know, with LeBron, with Kevin Durant, with a lot of the top players in the league, they really do watch how many fouls they have, and they don't let them get in foul trouble because they're part of the ratings. They're part of why people tune in to watch. And in some ways, that ensconces these leaders on this team to stay in the game longer because nobody wants to see LeBron James foul out in the third quarter. Well, the referees think we don't care about Pascal and that he can foul out in the third quarter. So it's kind of pissing me off. He's not getting the due respect that an all-NBA player 2 times and an all-star and also all kinds of other things with his stats deserves in this league. And that's part of what I have a problem with this, is that like he is very much not getting superstar treatment. In fact, he might be getting the opposite of that. Cool Cat saying, love to see Pascal and Scottie hugging, Freddie and Scottie hugging, fake narratives. All right, it jumped. Let me, right when I was in the middle of it. Fake narrative that our young vets don't get along with Scottie. Refs blatantly talking about Pascal out of games. A hit job. Refs blatantly taking Pascal out of games and a hit job on the stats. Yeah. I mean, you know, listen, like I said, the refs, Mitchell Irvin, I usually really like. I'm on the fence about Ransom. And Mark Davis, I really am suspicious of him every time I see him ref. But once again, the most important call that he made helped us win the game. So I can't be upset. He made the right call in the right situation. We won the challenge. And that was a pivotal point. That seriously was. That if that had been a foul, they would have gone to the line and had an opportunity to get 2 points. And that would really have affected that very close score at that time. So them switching it to a block and letting Fred have that without the foul was very, very key. So that's where I have to give the refs credit. They got that call right, and that was the one that maybe was the most important call of all of them. Let's see. Monique saying Scottie is him. Man, oh, man. Thumbs up all over the place for Monique. Seriously, stay focused, boys. We love you. That's right. You're coming home. We will give you a hero's welcome when you come back to face the Spurs on Wednesday. We love it. Tomorrow, we will have Raptors Freak Jurassic trivia. So y'all come in here 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. We will be playing trivia. You know the call. You know the drill, y'all. I'll have the questions ready for y'all 9:30. So if you like playing trivia games, we will be playing live tomorrow morning 9:30. You can come in and play with everybody you normally play. Shanky, Tom, Raymond, David, everybody. All the regular trivia heads will be there, I'm sure. All right, let's see. Tom Duke saying Joe Tsai didn't want to give Kyrie what he wanted. This will end up being the end of Luka in Dallas too, maybe. It was never Nash's fault in Brooklyn. Some people are saying, like, well, if they had not just fired Sean Marks and Steve Nash right when they said they should have at the beginning of the season, then none of this would have happened. Bullshit. These motherfuckers are toxic. Has Kyrie ever gone somewhere and felt good when he left? Even when he left Cleveland, it was a little, even though he's pretty in good standing there. But Boston, go talk to them about Kyrie Irving, how they feel about him. And now Brooklyn fans, woo-hoo-hoo. I'm sure they really have strong feelings about Kyrie Irving this morning. Brooklyn fans. I wish I could see like Starscream or one of these Brooklyn Nets fans who come in here and talk to us. I'd like to talk to them today. But no, they're nowhere to be found because they know that this is sadness and failure and stupid shit that they just did. It's just what they had to do. Kyrie forced their hand. But yeah, Joe Tsai said, no, I'm not going to send you where you want in spite of it. No, exactly. Yeah, Nash. And once again, people keep saying Nash is looking like he's very lucky he got out of this whole situation. And he is long gone and way away from that dumpster fire. David's saying, Luka and Kyrie, we see the light. We see the light. It's a train. David, I don't totally understand your comment, but I think it's hilarious because, like I said, these guys are both kind of like locomotives that drive the team from the start, from the front. And how's that going to balance? I know Luka may be able to play with Kyrie to a certain degree, but I don't know. I'm really going to have to see how this works. And I would be shocked if it actually does. So Randolph Phillips is here. Good morning, blessings, beloved Raptor Freaks, most informative gang. We are happy for the team victory, but looking forward to the trade deadline to see what happens. I really love what Scottie said after the game yesterday, talking about the trade deadline. It's like, we don't care. We're just focused on winning. We don't give a shit about all the noise. We don't care. Somebody's going to leave. We don't want to think about that. We're all for one for all. We're together. We stayed together this time, and we're going to continue to do this, even with all the noise around. Thank you, Kyrie Irving, for throwing a distraction and causing some stir in the pot around the NBA with the trade deadline that's taking the focus off of us. Maybe we can slink through this, and maybe if we get some wins going right now and we start rolling this homestand that's coming up, San Antonio, Detroit, Orlando, come on, we could get some wins, and we're only 5 games under 500 at this point, 30 and 25. No, 25 and 30. Whoa, that's an old habit that we're usually winning. 25 and 30. I wish I could say we were 30 and 25. But yeah, 5 games is a lot more manageable. We've kind of gone between like 5 and 7 games below 500 in the last 2 months. And now we're at 5 games again, and now we need to raise it up some more. Win against the Spurs. Boom, that's another bit, and boom, all of a sudden we'll be 500 again. So we need to get 5 wins as quickly as possible without losses, so we will be 500 and be in the play-in. Because it's very much looking like we can do this month. We just have to take care of things and beat these shitty teams, because we're not a shitty team like them, even though we're in the standings near them. We're a better team than that. We need to take care of business in February, Raptors. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And that trade deadline on Thursday, it can't come soon enough, because it will quiet down all this bullshit noise, and we will finally have answers. And maybe our fan nation, or not actually fans, or just Raptors nation, I won't even call them all fans, will shut the fuck up with all their bullshit. We'll just have to see. We'll see what's happening. Forgetful saying Dallas demonstrated once again it has the worst front office in the NBA. Not sure I agree with you, Lex, about the Nets. They got 2 defenders and a non-cancerous point guard. Time will tell. I think Spencer Dinwiddie's so overrated. I think that, like, look, if you have to have him as one of your main guys, like being one of your scorers, you're in trouble. You don't want that guy to be like one of your most important players. Seriously. Like in Washington, he had to do that a bit. And also in Dallas, he was like, really, he was the second banana next to Luka. Well, now they've switched him out for Kyrie. But even in some ways, like when Luka didn't play, Dallas is really bad as Spencer Dinwiddie being the guy carrying the water. Yeah, I don't like it. It's not very like, Spencer's already been in Brooklyn. I don't know. I just don't like it. Dorian Finney-Smith, he's not that good of a player. He's a big guy. Yeah, I don't like it for either one of them. I don't think it's good for the Nets either. You just lost a top 75 all-time player for fucking Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith. I'm sorry, that's not a win for Brooklyn. There's no way you could cut that as a win. You just lost one of the greatest players to ever play in the NBA, maybe the greatest ball handler ever in the NBA. Yeah, that's always a loss. Brooklyn did not win this trade, trust me. They did not win this trade. They're way worse now. And I'm sorry. It's not going to be better. I think even losing Morris is a bad thing too, because he's one of the few veteran bigs on their team that's capable. And bringing Finney-Smith, he's not equal to Morris either. So it's like you're getting 2 players now. You may get picks that are better in the long run, but in some ways that's not a fair trade for Brooklyn in any kind of way. That those guys that went to Dallas are way better than the 2 guys coming to the Nets. And yeah, I can't say that's a win. And it's not a win for Dallas either because they just got a cancer on their team. So it's a lose-lose trade. It really is. I can call it right now. I know it is. Monique saying, I'm with Kate and Leo. JJ who? He ain't no all-star. I didn't see the in studio what they were saying because I was watching the League Pass feed, which doesn't show any in studio. But I did hear Paul and Jack talking about it while they're calling the game, that there was a heated debate in the studio with Leo and Kate and Kia and them. And or Sam, I don't know who was in there with them. It was either Sam or Kia Nurse. Well, listen, I have to agree with Kate and Leo that Jaren Jackson Jr. he's a great player, but he's not an all-star. He's not flashy. There's so many other players in the West that probably deserve it more than him. And I don't understand why they put him on the team. It doesn't totally make sense. And Grizzly fans don't totally understand it either. I mean, he's a good player, but he's not an all-star. And I agree with them that like it's kind of like, really? Jaren Jackson Jr., really? Really? It's kind of like how a lot of people around the NBA are feeling like that. People that don't have anything thinking is like, that's the one all-star that doesn't make any sense, is what most people are saying. Fiercely saying, what do you think will happen now at the all-star? Kyrie would have represented the Eastern Conference. There's a lot of questions about this. A lot of people right away when Kyrie went were like, well, now you can put Pascal on the Eastern team. But because of the way they do the teams now, it's schoolyard picking. It's not like East and West matters. So it's like, I think they just give the all-star berth to them, even though he's already been called on the Eastern side, but now he's going to the West. It's not totally fair. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they would do this. Maybe if they have an injury replacement on the Western side, they can take an Eastern representative instead. Like, say one of the Western guys can't play. Well, then go get an Eastern Conference guy and refill the spot now that Kyrie's in the Western Conference. But none of it actually matters because they're going to pick between both the conferences and they're going to be mixed up anyway. So I don't think it matters in any kind of way. They're not going to do anything about it. He's just an all-star. He was in the Eastern Conference, but now he's in the Western Conference. But what does it matter? It's all Team Giannis and Team LeBron anyway. So I don't know. A lot of people are saying, well, get Pascal on the team now that Kyrie's in the West. Logical Raptors fanatic is here. Mike, good morning. Salute the real ones and Project Truth always. That was a great development game. See, Mike sees it too. Pushed us to use the 3 balls. Scottie got crunch time development, and that's what he really needs. Not trying to tank. Proper W. Thank you, Mike. Great comment. Yes, I agree. This is something that's very interesting that happened with Scott last night. I'll go over this over and over again. He's been able to do this for a while. It's just that he's kind of realized it and execute it and really implement it into the game in a real world way. Think about it more, Scottie. Really think about what your role could turn into on this team. As far as you have such broad shoulders and such a talent, you can carry this Raptors team to wins on a regular basis. You just need to figure out the puzzle every night and figure out, well, am I going to shoot threes or am I going to go down low and do what I do? You're much more likely to be going down low and doing what you do like you did last night. And you did it in a very measured, smart way. And I am so here for it. I am so ready for you to be our go-to guy when we need to go home, because you are going to be a very steady one and you're going to get so good at this. Trust me, you're going to be one of these guys that can close it for us. You showed it to us last night. We know you can do it. We want to see it more often. It may not happen again for a little bit, but we're going to get to the point where we're going to see Scottie more consistently try and take over at the end of the games at some point, because we've seen the first sign of it last night. Jimmy's saying, a win, always good. I'm in my books. Fuck the noise. Yeah, the haters that hate, the people that don't really like the Raptors are going to still poo-poo it and put us down. That's why the climb back up to the top and relevance is so hard, because they want to keep us as irrelevant as possible. And some of it is just like a perception war. The Raptors are this, the Raptors are that. That's why we have to carry this flag and say the Raptors are a good team. We just have a bad record, and we're ready to compete with any given team on any given night, and we will fuck you up and get a W against you. We don't care who you are. Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks. We don't give a shit. We come to your arena, you come to our arena, we're going to fuck you up, because that's how we are. We're not a team that you can just beat. We're not cream puffs. We are going to fight every single game we have for the rest of the season. And this ain't about tanking, all y'all Wemby people. You can be all upset. Boo-hoo, the Raptors beat the Grizzlies last night by 3 points. I wish they just lost. I want Victor. Fuck you, you losers. We're not tanking. Get the fuck out. You're tank motherfuckers. We are winning. We're coming to win now. Yeah. All right, let's go. Rick Glazer's here. Good to see Rick, who has very important friends who can break fingers. We could easily be on a 3-0 win streak with that close Jazz game. I agree with this. Our next 6 games, I see nothing but food. Our next, it's championship or bust. We are only a half game back from the 10th seed. Let's go. I love that positivity coming from Rick this morning. And I agree. Look, that is true. That Utah game was very close. Well, guess who's coming to Toronto on Friday? Guess who's coming to Toronto on Friday and get a little good get back against Lauri Markkanen, all-star, and the Utah Jazz, visiting us on Friday night. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Friday night. But first, let's take care of the Spurs. We can't overlook Popovich and his merry band of men. We love you, Jakob Poeltl. Maybe you'll be in our uniform by Thursday. I don't know. We'll have to see. But, yeah. I love what Rick's saying here, where we are. And I'm serious. Look, we're tied with Indiana right now, just on the outside of the play-in. And Washington and Chicago are good to get. And we could be in the 8th or 7th seed in the play-in very, very soon, y'all. Seriously. Because the games are still mashed up. And we want these guys to get some play-in or playoff experience. Fuck this draft pick bullshit. We're going to get a good draft pick probably anyway. But yeah, I like what Rick's saying. Championship or bust. Why not? Who could be us? Who gives a shit? We're crazy. We can go through a bad year and everybody can tell us you're garbage. Well, we don't fucking care. We're crazy. We're going to go and try and win a championship still. Duke Rocks is saying, I got to chuckle when Scottie brings up the ball and picks up his dribble, looks for Fred, who's hiding right behind point guard Jones, and expects Scottie to pass to him. Yeah, that was a really fucked up turnover. I didn't like that play. It was kind of like Keystone Cops. It was like, Scottie, you're doing this little turnaround, you're one of these wind things that blows in the wind. And what are you doing, Fred? You kind of set him up to fuck up. Fred, come around. Why are you on the other side of Jones? And then he's trying to pass it over Jones's head, and Jones just puts his hands up and takes it down. I was like, what the fuck? That was such a silly turnover, and I didn't understand it at that moment. You got to chuckle out of it, dude. I was like, what the fuck was that? It was really weird. Kareem Thomas is here. Good to see a great Raptor freak. Kareem Thomas, one of the funniest Raptor freaks around. Let's see if he's got something funny to say today. I wish this episode of Shark Tank was televised yesterday. Yes, Kareem Thomas bringing in the reference of Shark Tank and Mark Cuban. Mr. Wonderful would have told Mark Cuban that was such a bad deal, and the rest of the cast would have said, I'm sorry, but I'm out. Yes, Kareem Thomas. Yes, I am picturing Shark Tank, Mark Cuban, Kevin O'Leary, fucking Robert, whatever his name is, Herchovich, and one of the ladies, and they're all sitting in a row. And Kyrie comes in. He's like, yeah, I'm a point guard. I'm one of the best playmakers and ball handlers in the history of the NBA. Top 75, all-star, champion. Oh, Kevin O'Leary's like, oh, let me see here. Oh, wait, what happened with you last fall with this book that you were endorsing? That's nothing, Kevin. Don't worry about it. Nothing. He's like, I'm out. I'm sorry. This is too crazy. What happened with you and what was it? The vaccine. You didn't take the vaccine. You missed a bunch of games. This is Robert Herchovich. He's like, yeah, I have very strong principles, and I believe the Earth is flat. I'm sorry. I'm out. It's like Barbara Corcoran. It's like, well, Kyrie, you're quite an interesting, controversial person. In some ways, I like that. But, am I going to get a return on you? You're going to be trustworthy and want to stay here, and or not? You're going to demand a trade like you just did with Brooklyn? It's like, I can't give you any promises. I'm out. Mark Cuban's like, where do I sign? And Kevin O'Leary's like, oh, Mark, bad deal. I can't believe you just did that. Amazing, Kareem Thomas. I do want to see that Shark Tank episode too. I think I just acted it out. Duke Rocks is saying, I don't get to watch Jackson Jr. much, but that dude is a beast. I love that Scottie Buck going right at Jackson near the end of the game. Yeah, this is the thing that Jag was saying. Those weren't easy baskets that Scottie made. That's crunch time. Everybody's dialing it up. And the fact that he can perform at that level and be very successful is a very good sign. Listen, he's only going to get better at dissecting and understanding how he can beat other people. They're going to try and beat him and figure out ways, and they'll adjust, and he'll adjust. But in some ways, his talent is going to beat them and be the above it. So I really feel good about it. Jackson's great. I don't want to sully him. It's just that what the fuck? There's so many different guys in the league who are just as good as him, and they're not all stars. I really do think that they just needed a secondary guy on the Memphis Grizzlies because of their place in the Western standings. And they're like, oh, let's give them two. I think y'all should just give one to every single West team. Why did you have to give two to Memphis? You really didn't need to. You could have easily put somebody from, not the Spurs, but one of these teams that didn't get a rep, like Minnesota. I don't think they got a rep. That should have been Anthony Edwards' all-star spot. I'm going to say that right now. Anthony Edwards should be in the all-star game over Jaren Jackson Jr. And that's the difference. And maybe a positional thing. Oh, we don't want another guard. We need another big guy. Well, that's stupid too, because it's a schoolyard. They're picking from everybody. And it's like not like they're going to pick by position. There's one of those teams, LeBron and Giannis's team, could be overloaded with all the big guys, and all the little guys are on the other team because they don't have to pick by position. So you can switch Jaren Jackson Jr. for Anthony Edwards, the guy who has like some of the most points in the whole entire league scored for the season. And that Minnesota is in the middle of the pack. And there's teams like the Lakers that have an all-star. Well, Minnesota should have had Anthony Edwards instead of Jaren Jackson Jr. And that's just how I feel about it. Yeah, it was really good. He went at him, and his shot blocking superb. We saw the Memphis Grizzlies blocking our shots left and right in different places. It was pissing me off and was a big part of it. He could end up being like all-star type down the road, but I think this is too soon. It's kind of full of shit. And they may have given it to Dylan Brooks if he wasn't such a knucklehead, punching people in the nuts. He's just not good enough in that way. And Steven Adams, I don't know. He's too big, or maybe, I don't know. He could have been an all-star for them as a second all-star. I just don't get it. Seymour saying Scottie has a softer touch than Bosh near the rim, a better number 4. I completely agree with this. We can sully Chris Bosh on this channel all you want. I don't have any allegiance to him. I have as much allegiance to him as he had for us. So yeah, put down Chris Bosh. The greatest number 4 that wore a Raptors jersey is Scottie Wayne Barnes. That number 4 will never, ever be retired for Chris Bosh. It will be retired for Scottie Barnes. So yeah, I'm all about that. We can sully Chris Bosh a little bit. Oh, Starscream is here. Oh, this is going to be good. Nets fan is here. I want to see what he has to say. Monique is saying, by the way, good to see both teams are streaking at the same time. Go 905. I'm happy with the post-game interviews too by Fred. Yeah, Fred seems a little more upbeat, and I think that they're all very happy to be coming back to Toronto finally. The road's been fun. It's been bonding. There's a lot of good things that have happened. What did they say? They said the defense was really, really good at the beginning of the trip. This is what Scottie said. And then it was really good at the end. In the middle, there were some parts where it was, but yeah, Sacramento, great win to start the trip. And then last night against Memphis, a great win also. So yeah, really good, successful trip overall. And I know they're all very happy to come home. Not only them, the media too. I know it's not, at least it's not like super, super cold like it was last week. They actually left the city when it was like super cold and like lots of snow and stuff. So it was kind of good that the Raptors were away during the very bad winter of Canada right now. Rorschach's here. Morning, freaks, freakettes, and other life forms. Yes, we've determined there's other life forms here also. Jimmy Pope saying 3 more days until the trade deadline has me anxious. Well, at least it's time and it will pass, and it's not that very long of a time. Hopefully this will all ride through smooth. We got to trust in Bobby Masai and just see what they decide. Once again, we're all speculating different things. I don't think there's going to be a huge splash. I think there may be a very small move, but I don't think that it's going to be anything like monumental or crazy. It's going to be very much like a Goran Dragic for Thad Young kind of trade. And I think that that's going to piss some of the Raptors fans, Raptors Nation off. And some of us will be like, okay, I'm intrigued. Let's see what this little tweak does with our roster and maybe what happens with it. Maybe there's a new player coming in and they actually really, really help in a deficiency with our team right now. So maybe it's another shooter. We could get another shooter just right now. That would be fantastic, let alone some more rim protection in a center. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Kareem saying Pascal isn't being blackballed. This is what happens when you have a small forward in frame, not height, guarding the team center in the paint. This is not a hit job. This is a failed job by Bobby and Masai. Ooh, that's a way of looking at it, I guess. I don't know. It's too consistent, though. It really is. And it's really weird. It's really, really weird. Like, he's gotten his 5th foul at the beginning of the 3rd quarter a couple times now. And he really has been in danger of fouling out. And once again, we saw this with Fred in the playoffs last year. Fred got 2 early fouls in the first game against Philadelphia, and it changed the whole course of the series. It was like right away in the first minute of the game, they changed the course of the series by putting 2 fouls on Fred in the first minute. Now, tell me that wasn't a ref hit job on Fred in that moment, and think about it from that perspective. That's what I'm saying. They can very much hold the whistle on superstars or even make a phantom call on another teammate that's nearby that's not as important. When they single out Siakam and give him so many fouls so early, they really are trying to take out our primary number one scorer for crunch time in most of the second half. And I hate it so much. You may think it's not intentional, but they do have some discretion because we see it with people like LeBron. And that's what my point is about this. Sure, you can see he's undersized, he's in there fighting bigger guys, but still, also, they need to take into consideration the status of Siakam in the league. And they're not doing that. They're treating him just like any other jabroni in this league. And that's the problem I have. He should be getting a little bit more superstar calls at this point because if Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to get those calls, Siakam should too. And that is what I'm trying to say about this. You may be a little bit right, Kareem, that the undersized thing does make him have a proclivity to collect fouls, having to guard a bigger, stronger guy. But still, they find ways to sort the fouls around superstars to keep them in the game. And they're not doing that for Siakam. They want him out. That's why they're getting so many fouls on him so quick. And a lot of them are bullshit calls. He's barely touching them. And that's why he's so exasperated and frustrated. As you can tell, he's barely doing anything. He's getting hammered at the other end and he's getting foul trouble. And that's not fair. Summer's saying after more thought, I think Dallas didn't have a choice but to go all in on this deal. If they waited till summer, they would have gotten outbid by every team in the league with better assets. That's probably true. And they probably will get outbid anyway, but at least they're in the ground running with them and they can give him, I guess they can give him more money because they have his rights now. They can offer him more money so they have more of a chance in fighting against LA. But I'm serious. I really know he's probably just going to be in Dallas for the rest of the season. He's probably going to go to LA this summer. Kenny's saying amazing road trip. This is a great road trip. I don't know if it's as epic and incredible as that road trip from last year when we got those 5 wins in a row, but it still feels good to have a winning West Coast road trip, our most important road trip of the season, be a winning road trip. And that was fantastic. Logical saying, Duke rocks. Not going to lie. You see that turnover from Scottie in the fourth being doubled and passing cross court to wide open Boucher, but got snatched by the Grizzlies. That's part of the things Fred VanVleet knows not to do at the moment. You're talking about that pass that Desmond Bane telegraphed and took the other way. Yeah, I mean, he kind of lofted it with not a whole lot of juice on it. And sure, there's going to be a room for error where guys are going to telegraph and they're going to get in the passing lane for Scottie. But in some ways, I understand what you're trying to say. But I don't think this is a place to compare Scottie to Freddie, because this is kind of just Scottie's early development times to make mistakes. And in some ways, it's not totally fair. Like Fred can make that mistake too still, but not very often. You're right, because he's learned from it. But I don't know if that's totally fair to make the comparison in this situation with Scott and Fred and say that Fred wouldn't do that. That's not totally true. Fred might do that sometimes. Starscream is here. So let's hear from Nets fan the day after the Kyrie trade and see what he's saying. Happy Nets fan here. Okay, he's happy about this. Okay, this is good. All right, I want to hear what his point is on here. Lex, I don't know about the trade rumors between our two teams, but hopefully you guys keep your pieces together for one more run. This man, awesome. Starscream is such an awesome Nets fan, and I do really appreciate him checking in on us after Kyrie got traded. He's very happy that Kyrie's gone, and I can understand why, because he doesn't like his toxic. And in some ways, this is a relief, even if it's like you're not totally thrilled with everything you got going the back way. I mean, you guys had Dinwiddie before, so you know what you get with Spencer Dinwiddie. But, in some ways, he's improved since he was on the Nets before, because he's had to be more of the man in Washington and Dallas than he was even when he was on the Brooklyn Nets. So he's coming back with a little bit more miles on him and a little bit more experience. He may be a bit better. So that's interesting. I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, there's a little bit of talk. We're really after Claxton. We would love to get Claxton on our team. A lot of people in the Raptors Nation are talking about Claxton a lot right now. Obviously, the whole thing that happened with Kevin last summer, that's attractive to us also. And in some ways, we're more likely to do a Kevin deal at this point because we are not happy with what happened with our core this season. And we might actually do something to get Kevin at this point. If the same deal is out on the table from last summer, I think that Bobby and Masai will have to take a really good hard look at it and maybe do it this time. Because you know that Kevin's going to probably say he wants out. And you guys are going to be doing something very different with your team. You won't be a 3 superstar team like you were for the last couple of years. You're going to be very much a very different kind of team very soon when Durant leaves also. And I'm pretty sure he will because he said he would last year. If Kyrie leaves, I want to leave too. We'll have to see. He hasn't really talked that much. And maybe partly because he's hurt and he maybe just wants to see how things go. And maybe he wants to give it a chance with the new guys coming back and then see if he can do it with just these guys. But I don't know. We're gonna have to see Starscream. It's very interesting. Well, if you're happy about Kyrie getting traded, I'm happy for you guys too. And I can see where that is a relief. And it's just like, oh fuck, this circus is over. Thank God. Thank God. Logical saying this is huge point of Scottie's passing development, limiting turnovers by knowing the IQ game and the players is the missing ingredient in Westbrook's triple double vision version of MVP and bronze passing. Scottie's pretty good with his assist to turnover ratio overall. You can look at his career so far. He's really good at limiting his turnovers for being a rookie last year and his second year this year. So I don't think this is a huge, huge problem with him. Part of the problem is he's risky because he likes to do no looks and cross court passes. But you know what? Considering his accuracy and how more often he's successful percentage wise in these situations, I don't think this is a big problem. That you're going to get a byproduct of turnovers if you're going to do those kind of passes anyway, but he's way more often successful. I would say he's successful 4 out of 5 times. And maybe there's like one time he fucks up. So I don't know, Mike. I'm not going to go on about Scottie like in his passing too much because I think he's on the right track. And there's nothing wrong with him having a couple of bad turnovers here and there from being risky and trying to get a home run. Like whether he's trying to throw the ball long down the court and it gets picked off, but he sees somebody who's cherry picking, that is not a big deal in some ways, because in some ways that's the athleticism. Part of it is he's got to adjust the athleticism overall of the NBA and know that balls that he could throw in college and lower levels, he could get away with, but the athletes are so much better than go up there and get it. So he's just got to adjust and like really keep it out of the reach of opposing players. But I think he's doing everything good, and I can't say that it's his turnovers from passing are a huge problem with us right now. It's like it's not causing too many problems. He can have a couple mistakes because he's getting so many good points most of the time and making the passes fine. Forgevo saying, "Good morning, Rorschach. I feel validated. You must have a third eye." So Forgetful is the other things. Starscream saying, bottom line is Kyrie is amazing. When he plays, he just wasn't reliable enough. And supposedly the Nets were his team growing up, and KD is his best friend. And if he treats us like that, watch out, Mavs. That's what I'm saying. Like seriously, he has a tweet thanking New York for letting him live his dream. I'm like, sure. I'm sure you get a real New York you're welcome from people. That's how things went. I'm sure you get a real, kind of thing from New York fans with your little thank you for letting me live my dream. Yeah, this is crazy, and I think Starscream is exactly right. This dude is not somebody you want to invest long term. He's asking for a crazy ass $198 million contract. And who's going to want to fucking invest that money in you when you are like not loyal and flaky and all this kind of stuff? I'm serious. Kyrie Irving could end up like Stephon Marbury very soon, and he may be playing in China. He may be shocked to find out that people just don't want to deal with his bullshit, and they realize it's folly that doesn't build towards championships. That the more and more in the NBA, people realize good vibes and having like good people can actually kind of be better than the talent. The talent, sure, you can get away with a lot of bullshit if you're super, super talented. But in some ways, you also take away so much that it's not realistic if you're on the team that you'll win a championship. So, yeah, I could see Kyrie ending up in China in the next 2 years if he doesn't figure his shit out or I don't know. I think it's too late for him. I think that he's so much baggage at this point that, people in the NBA are not going to pay him the money he thinks he's going to get. If the LA does it, oh, go ahead, Lakers, you fucking idiots. If you go ahead and sign a Kyrie to the contract, you go ahead and sit in that cesspool. You will definitely not get LeBron James another championship with the Lakers for sure if you do that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think Starstream's exactly right. How can you trust him? Talk to Boston. Talk to Brooklyn. They will tell you the real Kyrie. They'll tell you the real Kyrie. Duke's saying, all right, I love all the comments. Logical. I've seen Scottie make a ton of cross court passes. Yeah, that pass was picked off, but I trust Scottie's vision for a second player, and I'd say it's pretty elite. It is. It's very elite. I mean, he thread the needle in one pass in the lane last night and really pinpoint to Thad, and he got an easy layup. And it's stuff like that. It's the court vision. It's the willingness to be a football type pass like Kyle Lowry used to do, throwing it all the way down the court and Gary Trent getting the pass and laying it up. There's a lot of stuff to that. And in some ways, and he helps our half court offense so much because he's quick with the passes. Some ways our half court offense is stagnating the last couple of years because we don't have a guy with his kind of vision and will thread the needle with a laser. Because often you got to be really careful when you're passing the half court set defense coming at you because they are much easier to steal. But Scottie has something to do with like tricking them. He's very good at looking them off and maybe getting the ball to somebody that they didn't realize he was trying to get it to. So I'm all about this. And like I said, he's having way more success. So I'm with Duke. Keep going, Scottie. You're doing a really good job. And we will take a couple of mistakes here and there in your development because everything's looking real good in this area. Logical was saying, oh, my bad. Just watch the replay, but kind of doing things at the moment too. My bad. Duke didn't see that play you were actually mentoring and thought you were saying something different. That's all good, Mike. There's so much. Fiercely saying, I'm watching the rankings closely, and should the Wizards, Pacers, and Bulls lose and we win, we're back in the play-in. I know. And this is very likely because the seasons have favored other teams a lot with like the easier schedule. And we've had our hardest schedule already go by. And now we're about to get into an easier part of the schedule for us. So this is a really good time for us to climb. This is a really good time for us to jump up a few spots in the Eastern Conference. And I fully expect that by the end of February, around the All-Star break, we have all these home games and they're against lesser teams. A lot of teams that aren't very good. There's a couple of teams that are tough this month, but they're teams that we've handled, like Cleveland, New Orleans. That'll be an interesting game this month too. But playing Orlando and Detroit a bunch this month, San Antonio, get another chance at Utah on Friday. Yeah, we could collect some wins in February very quickly now that we're home. And I want to see us rise up. I mean, we're better than the Pacers. We're better than the Wizards. We're better than the Bulls. We're better than a lot of those teams above us in the Eastern Conference when it gets right down to it. So let's get our rightful spot in the hierarchy of where we should be in the playoff race. Cowboys saying, I think Flynn is going to be traded. Have a great day, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Let's go. Have a great day too, Bradley. Be safe out there at your job. And that would be interesting. If it is secondary player, it could be a Malachi Flynn for somebody else, kind of little move. In some ways, I don't know. There's a lot of accumulated brain trust with Malachi also. In some ways, he really is an apprentice. We see Malachi at the beginning of the game. He's always the one that's at the beginning of the game with the referees and the ball boy, kind of talking to the refs and doing the like team captain kind of thing. They always have Malachi go out there and do that because I think they like to give him some important roles as a leader on the team. So he's usually at the little meeting between like the other opposing team has a rep. And then like there's the referees and there's the game ball and they're holding it. And Malachi's usually our representative standing there at the beginning of the game. We'll have to see. I wouldn't be upset if Malachi got traded, especially if we got somebody who's maybe a little further in their career and much more dependable. Monique saying, once Scottie finds out about the other 3 quarters, the league is in trouble. I think he knows about the other 3 quarters. I'm just wondering why he's waiting so long sometimes to just kind of do that. Maybe it's partly part of the strategy. It's like if I did that all the time, they'd expect it or I'd get tired. Maybe he's a surprise artist. He's like, oh, I haven't done anything all game, but I want to remind y'all that I'm here and I can do this. Oh, in the 4th quarter, I'll do this. Bam, 13 points and take my team to the victory. I love what you said there, Monique. Once he figures out about the other 3 quarters. You go, Scotty Barnes. Logical saying, I believe Scotty will learn and become better and more effective and efficient than those two. I'm just keyed in on a lot of the mistakes to see if there's growth, but it's a process that needs to be done right. Yeah. Listen, he's got a lot of leash because in some ways it's risk reward balancing. And the reward from some of the risks he's taken is very, very, very good. Like it's worth it because the rewards we're getting from him being aggressive with his passing are very good. And the risks aren't as bad as you think. There may be a careless turnover that looks really bad, like that Desmond Bain intercepting the ball. But for the most part, listen, the other thing is he's counterbalancing it too, because him and Gary and Fred and a couple other of the guys, those guys in particular, OG sometimes too, can telegraph passes the other team makes, and they get in the passing lane. And they steal stuff all the time. Thad Young's done it recently also. But you really see Scotty kind of reading the play, and he'll do the opposite in reverse. So in some ways, let him have a couple of gimmies at the other end. If he misses a couple passes, he get telegraphed, and he's coming the other way. Well, he'll make up for it on the other end in the reverse and telegraph a couple passes and get the steal himself. So it all balances, and in some ways, he's aggregately winning overall. So that's what matters. Starscream saying the year we lost to you guys in the bubble, Kyrie was healthy and refused to play without KD. That's when he started to turn me off as a fan. The Vax issue was a personal thing, but it did cost us Harden. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said yesterday. In some ways, the New York teams are tortured. We know how the Knicks are tortured. It's original flavor. Like your team is good. We're going to be in the playoffs. And then they crumble by the end of the year and fail somehow, some way, even though they look like they were going to be good for the first half of the season. Well, you guys, it's different. It's like they give you these really great Hall of Famer players on your team, and you're like, wow, this team looks so good on paper. But the toxicity of some of the guys around your team the last couple of years has just really ruined all that synergy that could be possible between such top tier talent on the team. So in some ways, y'all are just as let down as Knicks Nation is, but it's in a premium way just because it's Kyrie and it's this. And you see, like, you had Harden, Durant, and Kyrie on the same team for a while. And it's just like it slipped through the fingers, and what could have been, should have been, didn't happen because of bullshit. And that's the thing that would drive me crazy if I was in either one of those New York fan nations. It's just like I know the Knicks are like the Leafs in hockey. It's like they're like, yeah, I believe it when I see it. You know, it's okay, they're doing good, but I'm like nervous. But with you guys, it's a whole other level of disappointment and weirdness, just because of the caliber of the great players that y'all have had on your team the last couple of years. In some ways, I feel bad for you guys. I really, really do. Because y'all have had such a roller coaster between last offseason with Kevin and all this bullshit, Kyrie with the anti-Semitic controversy, and then Yuta coming in and bringing good vibes, and y'all coming up and y'all winning like 10, 12 games in a row in the end of the fall last year and just doing all these things. And then Kevin gets hurt, and then the wheels kind of come off again. And now Kyrie's traded. Oh man, what a ride for Nets fans. It really has kind of been like at any given. Sometimes you guys are like, yeah, we ain't doing shit. This is dumpster fire. And then sometimes it's like, we could fucking win it all, baby. Oh my gosh, what a roller coaster. What a roller coaster. I do not envy y'all. And in some ways, I feel bad for Brooklyn. I'm not saying fuck Brooklyn right now. I'm kind of like, do y'all need a hug? Is what I'm saying. Cool Cat saying, I sincerely believe if front office had given us a center, Pascal OG would not be drained, and we would be further higher in the ranks in the East. 3 years failing our core of Pascal, Fred, and OG, and now fans are mad. You know, in some ways, I really kind of see the parallel you're drawing, Cool Cat, to the Tampa season. That you're right, because we couldn't rely on Aaron Baines and Alex Len. We overplayed them at center, and they looked bad. They got beat up. They got hurt, and they didn't look as effective because they were playing out of position. And you know what? I have to agree with you. And the big part of it is he's not fucking playing Khem Birch. If he'd play Khem Birch or a little bit more of these big guys, they wouldn't have to mix it up so much with the biggest guys on the other team. And that is part of what's pissing me off. Forget about the front office. Sure, they could get us more big guys. Sure. But it's really Knicks not playing Khem Birch right now. This would solve a lot of this issue with Pascal and OG, with them being drained or beat up or injured, if he'd fucking play Khem Birch, because he's the guy who can take the beating from all the big guys on the other side and kind of nullify it and protect our guys from getting the beating themselves. So yeah, this is max of a Tampa thing with Pascal having to play against centers and it wearing him out and wearing him down, and OG's hurt. So that's very similar to what happened with those two guys in Tampa with no center. So I have to agree with Cool Cat. I don't know if it's the front office's fault more or Nick's fault more, because in some ways Nick has the tools to help with this, but he's ignoring it. And once again, I'll say that over and over again, Nick, why aren't you fucking playing Khem Birch? Is his knee that bad? What is going on? We need answers on that. Monique saying Toronto needs to win 16 of their next 27 games to roughly be positioned in 8th going into the play-in. That is roughly a 60% win rate and a tall order, but still within the realm of possibility. In some ways it could happen, but I don't think this is totally exactly right. There's probably some leeway and a little bit of wiggle room depending on how these other teams perform around us, as far as Indiana, Chicago, Washington, Atlanta. These teams could all go in different directions, and some of them are plummeting. Like Indiana Pacers have been plummeting for a while in the last month now. So I don't know. That sounds about right. I've heard other people quote that 16 of the last 27. I think somebody said that here in this stream yesterday. Yeah, we just want to win. Take it game by game. Let's not look at the whole thing too much and the whole picture, because it's overwhelming. And we just take game by game, one by one. We'll be fine. We'll accumulate and stack W's, hopefully that way. And then boom, all of a sudden, maybe by the end of those 27 games, we'll have done that and gotten 16 of them to be where we need to be. So yeah, I like the goals, but I want to make them more short term and not so big perspective, because that's where you get a little bogged down and stressed out. Take it one by one and we'll be fine. Logical saying, because Scottie has a great performance and everyone is really solid with him at the moment. I want to stick a point of growth in the game and something he will get better, and then he's going to be ready in my opinion, context. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's anything we're disagreeing about. It's just that I just don't want anybody to come after Scottie for turnovers right now, because he really is very good with assist to turnover ratio. And for a guy at his point in his career, he's not making a lot of mistakes that a lot of guys would in their second year at this point. So he's ahead. And I trust him so much with the ball as far as passing and stuff. He can have one picked off by Desmond Bane. It won't bother me. It won't bother me. Starscream saying it's fitting that his last game with us was a 43-point blowout to the team he probably previously quit on. Yeah, it's just like some poetic weird shit. And like Boston fans are probably like, yeah, he did this shit to us too. And we totally understand how you feel, Nets Nation, because they hate him in Boston. They really do. And he did some weird shit like stomping on the leprechaun when he came there, and some really hated him for that. Troy Henry saying, I'm going to be honest, my heart was pounding last night in the last 2 minutes of the game just because of that talk that would be going on around us losing to a team that didn't have their 3 stars. I know it's risky and it's dangerous. I know. I was with you, Troy. And with the way we've been closing out games this season, there was no guarantee that we would be capable or competent to close it out and win it like that. And in some ways, that is a signifier that, yes, this is good, because we were losing the whole game and it was close, and we ended up managing it and getting it right at the end. Key free throws by Pascal Siakam, key baskets by Scottie Barnes, good decisions by Fred, and just good all-around play by the Raptors defensively. In the fourth quarter, to allow us to win that game, we had to hold them down, because in some ways we only let them score 17 points in the fourth quarter because we had to overcome like an 8-point margin. So that was very, very important that we did so good defensively as a team in the fourth quarter last night also. But yeah, good stuff all around. And yeah, I was nervous too. Cali's stress meter was probably pretty high for the game last night because it was close. We haven't had a good habit of winning close games this year. And well, we did it. We came from behind and won a close game for the first time, I think, in a long time. Rorschach saying, newsflash, Kyrie just demanded a trade from the Cavs. He's not on the Cavs. You mean the Mavs? Yeah, I'm going to see how long this thing in Dallas is warm and fuzzy. Let's see how long this honeymoon period is. It sometimes could expire like milk. We'll see how quickly with a guy like Kyrie Irving. Starscream saying, you're exactly right, Lex. We went from a likable underdog team to a bunch of toxic, entitled divas. You guys had that Utah spirit for a little while in November and December. And honestly, I was in awe of you guys. I was like, wow, the Nets won again. And you guys were rolling. And the way y'all swept us this season was really impressive. And honestly, two of those games that y'all beat us on were Kyrie. Kyrie absolutely killed us. And this is why Raptors Nation today is kind of like, well, what the fuck? We played all our games against the Nets already this season. We don't get to play them again for the rest of the season. And now they're completely different. That's not totally fair. We got swept by the Nets. And a lot of it had to do with Kyrie. So it's like, fuck, man. Just like Raptors Nation is kind of like that right now with this trade. It's like, what the fuck? Why could it's just not fair. The schedule was fucked up. That we'd play the Nets so many games already, and we're done with them for the year. So we're not gonna get to see the new look Nets. It is what it is. But yeah, you guys, I still feel really sorry for Kevin. Like, honestly, I like Kevin Durant. There's some things about him that I really, really do like. And in some ways, this has just been such a disaster with Harden and Irving and Simmonds and all this stuff. It's just like, man, it's tough. It's tough. Monique saying, good to always see Raptors do good stuff. St. Jude Hospital. Yeah, this was amazing. And honestly, they're on the road. This isn't in Toronto. This isn't in Canada. They went to St. Jude Hospital in Memphis. In some ways, I think this has to do with the turmoil in that city right now, with that horrible murder of that young man in Memphis by the police. That city is hurting and it's in a lot of pain right now because of police brutality and fucked up shit that is going on with the fucking police in that city. So, the Raptors going and doing a charitable event with St. Jude Hospital was really fantastic. And once again, those are so fulfilling visits. They really keep you grounded. And going off of Starscream's comment about self-entitled toxic motherfuckers on his team. Well, you go to a hospital and you see sick kids that are fighting for their lives against cancer at the age of 6. And you real quick get a perspective of like, wow, I'm really lucky and I need to be more humble and have a humility to me because my life could have been way, way worse with the cards that I was dealt, like some of these children. So I did really love to see the Raptors at St. Jude yesterday or the day before or whatever. I don't know when they went there, but seeing the footage of them there interacting with the people there was fantastic. And that's the thing. They're doing stuff on the road. This is in Toronto. This is in another community, and they're showing up and doing that. Fantastic stuff, Raptors. Really, really love seeing that too, Monique. Let's see. Logical saying, I think it's key to ask for bold but increasing accountability as role increases is important. You hear Westbrook's answer about turnovers and how he doesn't see anything wrong with it. It needs balance. Well, I think that Scottie's smarter than Russell in this respect. He really does want to be perfect and play as well as he can. One thing he's probably really pissed about with him recently, he's missing bunnies. He's missing a lot of easy shots. And he probably hates that the most. And that's something that, he really does think about efficiency. If I think about all the time on Twitch and the way you look at his stats or talk about stats or even like watch highlights or plays from last year, he really is like thinking about his field goal percentage, his turnovers. And he's not going to look at it like Russell ever. Trust me. He's smart. He understands what it takes to win in basketball, and that's the next winning play. And he's never, ever going to get into this weird place where he's like a casual. He's like, oh, turnovers don't really matter. I'll make up for it somewhere, somehow in other areas on the court. So don't worry about him falling into a Westbrook kind of mentality. Trust me. It's not in him. He's smarter than that. Westbrook's not as intelligent in that way. Let's just put it that way. In some ways, his ego is his worst enemy. And it is part of that is in interacting with what you're talking about with Russell Westbrook on that. Duke's saying, since the Kyrie trade, I've heard Siakam for Ben Simmons. That ain't a thing, folks. Remember when people actually thought Simmonds was better than Siakam? Damn American media bias. Yeah, we're going to hear all kinds of noise. Fuck it. We're going to hear every single kind of crazy ass trade in the next couple of days. So brace for it, y'all. We're going to go through the storm of the last final couple days of this trade deadline. And hopefully we'll just see what happens. I mean, I'm not worried about this. I've had so much trust in Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster. They're going to make the right deal if they make a deal at all. In some ways, once again, we may be still pulling that plane up out of falling into the ground and crashing. We may be pulling it up as much as we can to get it to go, because it does seem like that with our season. We're seeing good signs. and we still just got to persevere and be like, yeah, may seem like we're still going down, but we're kind of, you know what I'm talking about. Savage is here. Good to see Savage. Always interested to hear what Savage has to say as a sometimes controversial person in our channel. Nervous about Bobby and Masai's next move because so far they've mismanaged the team so bad. We're sellers in February. Speaking of Khem, the team let him play on an undisclosed torn knee for a year. Shaking my head. An undiagnosed torn knee for a year. Shaking my head. Savage, I'm gonna give you a strike, but just one, and don't worry about it. You probably won't say much more the rest of the day. All right, listen, this team has not been totally mismanaged. It's just that they had a 6'9" vision and they really stuck to it. And in some ways, it's been folly, yes, but you gotta experiment. You gotta try new things in this league to be ahead of the curve. And I don't think what they've done is so horrible that it's damaging that we can't revert or make things fixed from it. One of the things I said recently, Savage, is we need to just go get another center and a point guard, and then boom, we'll have a little bit more of depth in those ends of the team. We got Fred, and then we kind of have Khem or Koloko as centers. But if we can get a little bit more center depth and a little bit more point guard depth to go along with our great in-between talent, we're going to fix this. It's just that we can't go completely Vision 6'9". It doesn't totally work yet, but it will at some point, and I don't want to give up on it completely. Yeah, I can't. I'm giving you the strike for the so far they've mismanaged the team so bad. And once again, I don't think we're sellers. I don't think we're anything. I don't think we're sellers or buyers. I don't think we're going to sell our team guys, our best guys. We're not going to get rid of any of our really good assets. I really don't. I will be shocked if we make a huge deal as a selling team. I could see us making a little deal as a buyer team and continuing to try and play better. So, and the thing about Khem with the knee, I still don't know what the fuck's going on with him. He had surgery last summer, and then the other knee had a problem all of a sudden. So it switched around a little bit. It was the left knee, it was the right knee, and he's had ice on the knee recently. I see him on the bench. He has the ice on the knee. So I don't know what to expect with him. In some ways, you know what? They know best. I just got to trust it, but I'm still mystified as why we're not using Khem in situations where we could use a big man. And I just don't get it. Leslie's here. Miss you, Raptor freaks. Honeymoon Kyrie will be great for the next 3 months, 3 or 4 months. Kyrie long-term is a disaster. We missed you too, Leslie. So happy to see Leslie Hart checking in with us on the Raptor Freak channel. You know, you can always come home and see us anytime you can, Leslie, whether it's live or checking in on us later. We're here for you. We love you. Let's see. Yeah, you're going to say 3 to 4 months of the honeymoon with him. Well, let's see how quick. There's some stepping on his toes because it is Luka's show there, and Kyrie needs to know that. And if he doesn't know that when he comes there and kind of like says, "All right, yeah, you're the number one," he's going to have problems. And I really do think that their skill set kind of like goes over each other. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to switch Luka to shooting guard or like small forward and take him out of the point guard that he's been running the last couple of years because Kyrie's their point guard now. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see how Jason Kidd manages his team now with Kyrie Irving on it. I know that him and Kyrie have a good relationship also, and that's part of it too, is the GM and the coach are very friendly with Kyrie. So that was part of probably why they wanted him, because they know they kind of have an established relationship with him, and maybe they can actually get him to listen to them. We'll have to see. But I think long-term disaster for sure. Mike saying the metrics have shown with Scottie and Birch not spacing as well, plus any bench players breaks the offense more than playing. Without Birch playing C, it's lineup metrics and two-way fits on both sides. Okay, I'll take what you're saying. Duke's saying this month's Raps schedule is one of the easiest in the NBA. We'll know for sure if the Raps want to tank or not. Yeah, we're gonna win. We're gonna win a lot this month, and we'll win like we were supposed to because of our culture. Hopefully, get in the play-in and make some noise in the offseason. Still, even though the season seems like such a failure, you know, if we have some sort of even little bit of postseason success, I'm gonna say this year's a success because we went through adversity. We went to the very like sub 500 and out of the playoffs completely, and we rose up and we achieved still. So I'm going to build this into a successful year no matter what, even though a lot of people are saying this year's already been a failure because we have not met expectations at the beginning of the season. And I could see that argument, but in some ways, you know what? You get down in the sewer and all sullied up, messed up, and you dust yourself off and you step right, get back up on your feet. That is very good too. And that, if we can do that as a team this year, you get knocked down and you step back up and you say you're ready to fight. I'm all about that kind of spirit for our team for sure. Let's see. Scottie is so good in the fourth quarters. Just imagine how great he would be as the number one option. Monique, that is the vision that we are talking about this morning. That this is something that he's shown us now, and that in some ways he realizes it himself, and that now maybe Scottie will be thinking in his head is like, you know what, I should take over more games at the end of the game and try and win it for us. His winning competitiveness in his spirit could really be a weapon as far as like how hard and how he really wants to win. And this is kind of what I've been talking about with Siakam recently that he lacks is that he has to have that drive that really like, I'm going to fucking make this basket no matter what because I want to win. And that's what Scottie showed last night. That's the difference that I'm talking about. Siakam is good. He's a great scorer. Nobody can stop him. But in some ways, they can stop him when they really want to stop him. They can stop him like not consistently throughout the whole game, but at the very end, they have ways of fucking him up and not allowing him to be effective in scoring. So I'm really excited about Scottie possibly being a clutch guy and taking us home to wins more often too. Denal saying Scottie just needs to get that they need me mentality for 4 quarters. I don't know if he'll be gassed, so he limits himself. But if fourth Scottie plays that way all quarters, game time. You know, he could do this maybe 2 of the quarters a game. Like start expanding it little by little. You know, I don't know if he could do the whole game like that. Maybe sometimes he's very consistent in playing a certain way, but he can't do a certain things. It's like kind of taking over the game as an offensive player is very exhausting because there's a lot of pressure. If you're a focal point, the defense is coming at you in like heavy ways, like Pascal. It's very exhausting, very tough to do. So we'll have to see how he adjusts and manages the different ways that people may try and stop him if he is more and more designated as a guy we go to at the end of the game for clutch stuff. So we'll have to see how he handles that with the adjustments. But I like what he's going to do. And you know what? Listen, if he shows up right at the end of the game and takes us home and he doesn't do anything like he did last night, I'm all for it because that all added up to the W. He could have a bad first half, and if the second half he's absolute gangbusters and we win the game, so be it. So he doesn't have to be consistently good the whole entire game, but he does need to show up and get some points and show up and contribute at some point. And it'd be great if it's at the end of the game and it coincides with him taking over and winning. But if it's at the first quarter and he just gets us off to a good start and then he hits one big shot near the end of the game, I'm okay with that too. We just have to have him produce at some point during the game. There can't be any of these games where he scores like 7 points and he took like 5 shots like he has had in the last 2 years. He's got to graduate from that and take on more responsibility and contribute consistently every single game. And he hasn't had any of those kind of games where he hasn't done anything all of a sudden recently. So he's always kind of showing up. Last night he was in danger of that because he didn't do anything for the first 3 quarters hardly. He hit 1 3 and he was like 1 for 7. So I like a lot of what we saw with Scott. There's a lot of good things that are coming from him. Cool Cat saying, I really think Scottie, Precious, Koloko is the next trio of Pascal, Fred, and OG. I hope we keep these 6 players together and add an NBA-ready center at a minimum. I love that plan too, Cool Cat. Let's get another center. Claxton and Koloko together. That could be really, really fun. Nicholas Claxton on the Raptors. As a twin tower lineup with Koloko out there. And then you have Boucher at the 3. That would be crazy to play Koloko, Claxton, and Boucher all at the same time. But yeah, I'm really into it. And Claxton said, he's like, listen, what did he say? He said, I just work here, bro. I have no idea what's going on with this team, is what Nicholas Claxton said this weekend with all the Kyrie buzz going on. He's like, I have no idea I just work here, bro. That's what he said. Mike's agreeing with you, Cool Cat. And Duke's saying, I still believe in the 6'9" vision. I trust the brass to figure it out. Whenever you develop something that's new and very cutting edge, it's not going to totally just work completely. There's going to be things to iron out. A wrinkle you have to iron out and stuff. And that's what's happening with this. We're seeing what the negative parts of Vision 6'9" cause. And we have to, improve those areas of our game around a 6'9" build still. And I think that's smart because the 6'9" build is still very versatile, as I've said, that you can build off of that in all kinds of different directions. You just get one more center, you get a good backup point guard, boom, we might be fine. So it's like we don't want to just crumple up the paper and throw it all out because it just didn't work. It is working to a degree, and we need to just suss out why it doesn't work in certain ways, like the shooting. The shooting byproduct of having a lot of good athletes and not very good shooting percentage is really something that it has to be met to like fix, as far as like we need overall better field goal percentage and better shooters on this team within the 6'9" system. And how do we do that? Do we develop the guys we already have as getting better and better shooters like Pascal and Scottie? Or do we go get new guys that are already established, really good dead-eye shooters within the system to complement a mostly 6'9" vision? See, that's what I'm saying. There's maybe a hybrid of some sort and maybe a couple concessions that you have to make, that the whole team can't just be 6'9". You're going to need a point guard. You're going to need a center still. And I think that's what we found out this year, that we very much still need a center and a point guard, that we found that out. Let's see. Omari saying, has Kyrie requested a trade from the Mavs yet? Well, he had to do his physical this morning, and they're expecting him to suit up and play in the next Mavericks games. Like, he's going to come there and show up and be involved right away. So this will be very interesting. Forgetful saying, I will be very surprised and disappointed if any trades happen this week. That is not geared to trading up in the draft. In chess, you sometimes trade a piece for a killer move a few moves later. Ooh, I like that. He's bringing in chess strategy, is like you set up a couple moves from ahead of what you want to do. And maybe you want to get the other opponent to make a certain move, take a red herring or a kind of an opening that you're giving them to make them think that it's good for them to take, but it isn't actually. Yeah, I'm interested in this too. I think that that's not a bad strategy, is if we are going to do any kind of deal, if it helps move us up in the draft this year, that it's kind of like the opposite of what we did with Thad and Goran last year, where we swapped the 20th pick for like the 32nd pick. Well, maybe we do it the opposite. Maybe we do a little bit of like shuffling and we end up with a better draft pick. I don't mind that idea, Forgetful. I really don't. That doesn't sound bad. Duke saying, I've also heard the Nets are interested in Fred VanVleet. It is possible Masai might pull the trigger for Fred in his expiring contract. So I hate to say it, Simmonds is possible because he can play center. I don't want Ben Simmons ever. Seriously, I don't want any of these Nets other than Claxton. He's the only one I really like on that team. And Watanabe, sure. You can bring Yuta back to Toronto. I have no problem with that. But Claxton's the only attractive net to me. There's nobody else on that team that I want. I don't want Ben Simmons. Well, yeah, I got to say Kevin Durant too. Kevin Durant would be attractive to get also. But those are the only guys, like those three guys. I don't even want Joe Harris. I don't want any of these other guys that they got. It's either Claxton, Durant, or Watanabe. Those are the only ones I'm interested in personally. I don't want Ben Simmons, flaky, weird Arthur ass, sitting on the bench looking all goofy and his weird stuff. He's one of the things that's going on with Ben Simmons right now is he got engaged to this model and he gave her an engagement ring and she doesn't want to give it back to him. It's like very, very valuable ring, obviously. And now he's in a fight with his ex-fiance to get his engagement ring back from her. They called it off. So that's a little tidbit of news about Ben Simmons right now. Leslie saying, I could see the Raptors fighting back to at least 500 in the next month. The guys are realizing their potential. I still think 6 to 8 spot. Yeah. There's no reason why we can just bypass the play-in still and get there's still time. There's still enough to do. We could get into a regular playoff spot from where we are at. Still, it's not totally unrealistic. Will it be easy? No. Will it be possible? Yes. Is it likely? Maybe not. But even if we get in the play-in mix, I'm going to be very happy about it. I think you're right. This month in particular, the easier schedule we need to execute. Now, if this month goes really bad, yeah, fuck it. We're waving a white flag on this season. This is a disaster. It's been a failure. So this month we need to beat the teams we absolutely need to beat, because these are wins we need to put into the win column and not the loss column to make up the 25 and 30 record that we got right now. Yeah, I like their chances. I really do. And we're playing better right now. And that happens to go really well with the timing. Scottie taking over and getting things done actually opens things up more for Spicy and Fred to not have to work crazy to get shots. A rotation setup of attacking Scottie, Spicy, or Fred can make us win. Yeah, I think that's what part of what I saw last night is that Scottie doing this is going to make things easier and we will have a better opportunity to win. And we just need to have more options at the end of the game. Once again, I wish they'd use Gary more near the end of the game also. He seems to need not getting shots in the last 2 minutes of the game, where it's like, what the fuck? Why won't y'all let Gary shoot at the end of the game? He's money. We know he's money. He's so good in pressure. And I really, really trust Gary to make a big shot when it matters. So I'd like to see him get some of the late shooting too. Denal's saying we need shooting Duke, so we need someone else. We need shooting Duke. We need somebody else. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want Simmonds. I don't want Simmonds. And I know that's why Denal's saying that, because he doesn't shoot. It's like, what did that his ex-fiance said, all right, listen, we'll have a shooting contest, you and me. And if you beat me in the shooting contest, Ben, I will give you your engagement ring back. That was her burn on him. She literally did say that. She's like, oh, you want your engagement ring back? Well, you play me in a game of horse. And if you beat me in horse, Ben Simmons, you can have your engagement ring back. She said that. What a burn. And bam. Ooh, that's a mean thing for an ex to say. So good. So good. Paul's saying Scottie is the man. What a fourth. And shooting over JJJ. I do enjoy seeing him work in the post. Paul B, good to see you. Original Raptor Free Paul B. Always good to see you coming in and chiming in. Yes, Scottie going against All-Star Jaren Jackson Jr. and scoring over him. A shot blocking threat. Duke saying 100% denial, but Simmonds is a big man that can pass, protect the rim, and attack the basket. Just saying he fits the 6'9" vision. In some ways, he's duplicitous with Scottie. Ben Simmons and Scottie Barnes have a lot of the same skill set in a lot of ways. It's kind of weird. Scottie's not that far off from the player that Ben is. In fact, I like Scottie better. I think he's a better shooter than Ben Simmons. That's what I'm saying. Like, Ben Simmons may be not necessary because a lot of what he offers is in Scottie. So, and that's part of it too. I think he's too aloof. And once again, he gave up on his team in Philadelphia. As much as we say things about Kyrie giving up on teams and being a problem, Ben can be that too. And that's part of the reason why I don't want him on our team. All right, let's see. Monique's saying my next game is Wednesday for the Spurs. Yeah, and then you're going on Valentine's Day for Orlando. All right, Monique. You go. You got your schedule ready for home games this month. Monique Lawrence, you get down to that arena and bring those good vibes to a W for the Toronto Raptors. Yes, I love it. All right, there's a little bit of news about the Memphis Grizzlies I want to talk about today. It's very interesting because there's been repercussions. The Grizzlies have been a weird team the last week. They are very much full of controversy between the fracas and between them and the Cleveland Cavaliers last Thursday night or whatever night, Friday or whatever, where Dylan Brooks got suspended for his little altercation with Donovan Mitchell. They also had an incident with the Indiana Pacers last week after a game against them. There's a lot of jawing. And then there was an incident that happened outside the arena with the team bus with the Indiana Pacers and John Morant's friends who were riding in a SUV. John came and got in the SUV and they pointed a gun at the people in the Indiana Pacers bus with a laser sight on it. The NBA has investigated this, and they banned two of John Morant's very best friends from coming to the arena for their life or for a year or something. It's really crazy. Like, let me read this real quick. The NBA said it investigated a post-game incident after the Memphis Grizzlies home game against the Indiana Pacers on January 29th and banned some people from attending games at FedEx Forum after its probe. So basically, this SUV that Morant was riding in, they pointed a laser at them, and it was very threatening. And there was a lot of chippiness in this game between the Pacers and the Grizzlies. This is what I'm saying. This kind of ops culture shit just has no place in the NBA. Like John Morant, I understand you're an up-and-coming young guy, and in a lot of ways I admire you because I've seen you interact with the ordinary people in your life. Like you go to Waffle House and you'll give somebody at the Waffle House $1,000 just out of the blue. You'll do stuff like you'll buy people's groceries en masse in the grocery store. I see you do all these humanitarian and amazing things that build your character, but also at the same time, I see you embracing this ops culture and this bullshit of like, oh yeah, we got guns and we need to intimidate you and all this kind of stupid shit that I see in a lot of this music videos that are put out these days with drill ops culture. It's so fucking stupid and it has no place in this league. And you know what? Yeah, you guys get repercussions. Your friends should not be allowed to come to the game if they're coming and acting like thugs. And that's what I'm saying. Cut this shit out, Ja. You could fuck up your career if you're not careful. You want to go and live this life, this street life, while you're living the NBA life at the same time? Well, you're going to find out what you're going to get. You're going to get misery and heartache and more obstacles and problems in your career because of it. In general, the NBA should start denouncing players from embracing this gun culture shit. All this stuff they're doing on the court with blah, 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 shooting guns and bam, 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 bam. Stop it. You don't see how many people are dying to gun violence in the United States every single fucking day, and that y'all are on blast and you perpetuate it. And this story about what y'all did with the Indiana Pacers bus is fucked up. This shit has no place in the NBA, and the NBA needs to come down hard on people that are promoting gun violence in this league at this point. There's way too much of it, with celebrations after shots, with just the way people are acting outside in their private lives with people like their gangs, and they're going to go and fucking have gang wars or some shit. Fuck that shit. Get your shit together, Ja Morant. You're not in a gang. Maybe you are, but you shouldn't be if you're in the NBA. So just cut this shit out. It is unnecessary. We see your dad, T. Morant, sitting in the front row with Nabatia as an ambassador, bringing a man from another country who may very well get racist taunts in the middle of Memphis because of his appearance. So I love that goodwill. I love that kind of camaraderie that you guys have a friendship, T. Morant and Nabatia, that you were like, I want to bring you to Memphis to watch the game with me in the front row because we had such a good time bonding in Toronto the last time we came there. These are the good things. These are the things you should be embracing. And stop fucking embracing this ops culture. Because this bullshit is fucked up and it's going to derail your career if you're not careful, Ja Morant. There's your warning from me. As I like you, bro. You have a good heart, I can tell. And I know that maybe this is a product of where you come from. But fuck that shit. Leave it behind because it's toxic and it's going to destroy your career eventually if you're not careful. So there you go. That's my words of warning and caution for Ja Morant. Because of this stupid shit that happened after the game in Indiana, and then just all the general stupid shit that's going on with your team. Are you trying to be the bad boy Pistons? Who the fuck are y'all trying to be, Grizzlies? Fighting everybody all of a sudden. All right, let's keep going. Duke saying the problem with Simmonds is he's overpaid and not worth the contract. Unless the Raps know how to maximize Simmonds, I don't see him as a part of any trade. That's right. He's dead wood in a way for a contract, how much he holds up. That is probably the biggest reason why we don't want Ben Simmons. Duke hit the nail on the head. Race Mode saying the NBA is the new WWE. Well, that Lakers incident with the Grizzlies, see, that's how many incidents have they had this season with opposing teams? The Lakers incident with Shannon Sharpe was complete WWE scripted bullshit. And in some ways, I was like, okay, this is harmless. This is kind of stupid because they're not going to do anything. This is all peacocking. And there's nobody actually that's actually mad at each other. They're just talking out of their ass and flexing and it really was like WWE. And then at the end of the game, Shannon Sharpe was like, yeah, we're friends. T. Morant and I are friends. And there's no problems here. It was all for show. It was for publicity. Shannon Sharpe just wanted his name and more headlines, basically. Yeah, so I agree with this, Edmund. The NBA, and to agree, is a little bit like WWE at sometimes. Oh my gosh. Monique saying, when I first saw this update, shouldn't Morant be suspended? Well, he technically wasn't involved in it. It's really his associates. I mean, he was in the car when it happened, apparently, but he wasn't the guy who actually did it. Or maybe, he can't control all of his people. That's what I'm saying, Ja. You may need to suss out who's in your crew and stop this kind of bullshit because this is not smart. That's very stupid what that guy did. And now, he's banned from the arena. He can't even come see you play anymore. And I know you may be upset that your buddy got banned from coming, but he made a poor choice and he's dealing with it now. So, all right, let me wrap it up, y'all. Just over 2 hours. I appreciate y'all joining me for a reaction to a great close victory for the Raptors over the Memphis Grizzlies. We completed this 7-game road trip successfully, 4-3, and now we're back in the 4-1-6 today. They're down there getting used to being back at home. And hopefully, because there's a day off before the game on Wednesday, they can really get acclimated and not have any kind of a fall down, because that happens after a long road trip. You come back and your first home game is sometimes not very good energy because you just came back off the road. And this is something that Monique and I, once again, have cautioned the team about. The first game after a road trip is dangerous. Well, at least it's a team like the Spurs, which is maybe a little easier to beat in some ways, but they are tough in some ways. We can't take them lightly, but they are a team that's very beatable as the first game back from the road trip. So maybe we can get this win for sure. We'll have to see. I'll have the preview on Wednesday, but tomorrow we'll be playing trivia. So come in tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. We'll be playing trivia. It'd be great. Forgetful saying Grizzlies can and do win without Morant. They lose without Adams. I think that's a very good point, Forgetful, that Adams in some ways is so important as their center and defense that, yeah, I could see that he was much more missed in some ways in the game last night than Ja Morant. And I would totally agree with that Adams, just like Nurkic for Portland, that's a totally different team defense-wise without those big guys in the middle, and they are much easier to score on. So, yeah. All right. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. Remember, Raptors 905 are playing today at 7:30. They're hosting the Maine Celtics. So check that game out. Our refs for that game are JD Rails, Egon Abazi, and Ian McClenny. That is the ref crew for the Raptors 905 out in Mississauga tonight. Once again, there has been a big trade. Kyrie is going to the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, I'm officially reacting as saying it's a fail for both teams. I don't think it's going to work out for either one of them teams. Maybe it worked out for the Nets because it's addition by subtraction, and that may be true. And then Dallas, what the fuck is wrong with y'all? It's going to be hilarious to see what the Kyrie things happen in Dallas now. Not Brooklyn's problem anymore. And that's what Starscream's saying today, and I can get behind that. Last night, my stars of the game were Scottie Barnes, Thad Young, and Chris Boucher. Great efforts off the bench by the Raptors, with only 3 guys off the bench, but really big time. And then balance across the starters. Nobody really super good, but important stuff getting done and being handled. So a great victory coming from behind to win the game in the last couple minutes against the Grizzlies by 3. They really did show that old moxie and determination that they had last year that won them so many games in the last 5 minutes when it was close. So hopefully we can be back to that as a team more and more as the season goes on to the end of it now. That we can be a more capable closing team and win the close games in the last 5 minutes because Scottie has emerged and shown that he could maybe take some of the responsibility of carrying us home. I love this development, and you go, young Scott Wayne Barnes. Be great 4, because 4, when you're in the 4th and you take over and you take us to that W, whoo, that's you taking control of your destiny. Don't stand idly by and watch how the game goes, Scott. You have the power to make what you want to happen in the game. You do it. You take it on yourself and you take care of it, because I believe in you, Scott, and we know you can do it. So let's go Raptors. Let's beat the Spurs. Tomorrow trivia, we'll be ready. All right, let's see what else you guys are saying. And I'll finish it up and we'll be off. Let's see. Jimmy's saying it would be great if the team turns it around after a trade deadline. It's been a rough season. A little good feels would be really nice. Well, we're on a win streak, and I feel good right now. I feel real good seeing the new Scottie Barnes powers at the end of the game. Raymond Jacobs saying, Lex, maybe he doesn't want me. Lex, you guys switch the trivia questions up. Keep us guessing and not so predictable. You don't need to make the nickname question the first one. Example, haha. W stream. Have a good day. Raymond Jacob, listen, part of the reason why I do a structured thing with the trivia is because I want to reward y'all that know the pattern. Listen, it's fine. It's a little bit of an exclusive club for you and Shanky and David and Tom to have the knowledge that you know what I'm probably going to ask. And I have no problem with that. If you know, ideally, I'd have you guys take the trivia without any cheating. Just do it off the top of your head. But I can't do that. You're going to do that anyway. So I don't get upset about this. And to be honest, there's not a whole lot of questions you can write up for the trivia in the format that are very different. So I have to do a lot of the same questions just because those are the only things to make questions out of. So yeah, it'll be the same still, Raymond. Just take the advantage because you're a regular and you know what the questions are. So don't worry about that. Haha, W Stream, have a good day. Thank you, Raymond. You have a great day too. It's a sunny day in Toronto. Get outside. I know it may be a little cold still, but at least it's nicer out for the Raptors be welcome back to the 416. Racemo is saying, not to make this a Lexathon, but why is Yuta not playing for Toronto? Well, we gave up on him last summer, and he got to the Nets, and boom, he had a little bit of a renaissance there, being one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. And he brought the good vibes in Nets. But even Yuta, his incredible charisma and great teammate kind of feeling around him couldn't fix the problems in Brooklyn. Apparently, that this was still going to be a dumpster fire, no matter how good vibes Yuta Watanabe tried to bring them. It's too bad. But yeah, I don't know. Yuta on the team again. I'd love to see Yuta back in a Raptors jersey someday. We'll have to see if that ever happens again. Monique saying, are you down a trade deadline primer? W Stream. You know what? Listen, I like talking in reaction. I don't like speculating. You know that, Monique. So there's really not going to be anything to talk about until something like Kyrie happened yesterday, and then we'll react to it afterwards. Like, once again, I feel like it's such a lot of hot air when everybody's trying to speculate on the trades they think are going to happen and all this kind of stuff. If you get it right, good for you. You're very astute, but it's very unlikely that most people will be able to predict the trades that are going to happen right now. I was not able to predict what they did yesterday between Brooklyn and Dallas because it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's ridiculous. So that's why I'm like, I can't really think of trades that are going to happen because sometimes the reasoning of the GMs and what they do makes no fucking sense. Like this deal that happened yesterday. So how the fuck are you going to predict something that just doesn't make sense? Anyway, y'all, I appreciate y'all. Let's ride through this trade deadline strong and together, Raptors. Just like you guys have been this whole road trip. We have not blown up. In fact, that's why we're a success. We weathered the storm of controversy, the points when people could have pointed fingers and turned on each other and made this way, way worse. We have not done that. And I thank the leadership of this team, Coach Nurse, the GMs, the Fred Van Vliet, Scottie Barnes, Pascal Siakam, for keeping it together through these tumultuous times and not turning on each other. It is actually a huge accomplishment. Lesser teams would have gotten all kinds of cesspool of dysfunction. We have made the best of it in all of the trouble, and we have weathered it all very well. I appreciate it. Jimmy Pope, peace out to you, and you have a great Monday. Let's start this week right. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share if you enjoy the Raptor Freaks channel. And I will be back here tomorrow for trivia, 9:30 a.m. Let's go Raptors!